In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. George Orwell. Yeah. This is Blood Politics. The only podcast where we don't talk about politics. We be about politics. And our mission statement is to empower, educate, and encourage everyone to speak out against fascism. Speak out against injustice and fight for freedom and equality for everyone. This is Blood Politics, and we ain't stopping till they put us in the grave. We ain't gonna be quiet, and we ain't gonna be scared, and we ain't gonna go along with the crowd. This is Blood Politics.
All right, screw it. We're going to do it live. Let's do it live. Let's do it live. No, I appreciate you guys for joining me. Okay, welcome back to the show. You guys know what to do as you filter in. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. It's pretty easy to do. It doesn't cost you a red cent, but really helps this platform, really helps this channel, really helps it through the battles of the algorithm. You know what I mean? When you say we bring in the chat before we get into all of the stuff and craziness I want to discuss and break down. I got a ton pulled up today, so hopefully we can squeeze it into the 2 hours. If not, we may have to go over just a little bit. But like I said, before we get into a lot of the top stories, a lot of things we're going to be talking about, what do you say we bring in the chat for a little hello? You guys make this show happen. So as I say, you guys deserve all the screen time that you get, right? So what's up, Patui? What's up, Julie? How are you? What's up, Chris? What's up, Olga? Appreciate you guys. Hello, everybody over on there on Twitch. What's going on, Corrine? What's up, Twiggy? Appreciate you over there. Thank you for being here. What's going on, Jupiter Judy? Thank you to all the mods. Yakov, thank you so much for everything you're doing. Hopefully your back is all right, my dude. What's up, Rocks? Appreciate you. Thank you for being here as usual. What's going on, Dame Dog, Frank, Bethany? We get the whole fam here today. We get the whole damn fam. What's up, Helen the cat? We even got cats in the chat. Let's go. What's going on, Helen? How are you? I kid. What's up, WW? What's going on, Wes? How are you? What's up, Crystal? What's up, Eileen? Like I said, make sure you guys hit that like button on the way in. Filter in, one and all. What's up, Karen? How are you? Yeah, we got to talk. Ton to discuss today. Ton to talk about. Lots that, like I said, I want to break down. Lots that we have to go over. It is June 30th, 2026, so we're damn near at the end of another month. You made it another month, ladies and gentlemen. You didn't think you were going to do it. Didn't think it was going to be possible for you to survive another month, but you did. So I appreciate you. Congratulations for doing so. And like I said, thank you for being here with us. This is Blunt Politics. My name is Boston Brian. If you're just joining us for the first time, I appreciate you for doing so. And if you've been here since we started this thing, I appreciate you for being here. So like I said, hit that like button. A few things we're going to be discussing today. Obviously, the Supreme Court ruling upholding the birthright citizenship, which is a huge loss for not only Trump, but his whole administration and Republicans in general. We're also going to check in again on Trump's Great American Shit Show. I mean, the thing just continues to get worse. It got worse and worse the more it went on. We're also going to be discussing, and I'd be remiss if I didn't touch on this topic. I'm sure some of you may have seen this floating around your social media feeds, but Dave Portnoy of Barstool Sports here in Boston, a Boston kid here, decided that he wanted to go on Jesse Waters and pretty much challenge Zohran Mamdani in politics in general, I guess. So definitely going to have to be breaking that down as he discusses a potential political run. This is a guy that is coming out with a new book. Can't read his book. Want you to believe that he wrote a book, but again, we got some evidence to suggest that the boy can't even read. So I don't think we're in any trouble as far as Dave Portnoy is concerned, but I do have to call it out. I also want to talk about J.D. Vance going full election denier with Bill Maher. Short clip that I just, we have to call out as far as J.D. Vance trying to now bring up and repurpose this whole 2020 election bullshit. Once again, like it's not 2026 and we didn't have all of these court cases that they went through and lost. You know what I mean? We're going to be talking about Tucker Carlson, because Tucker Carlson is back on his Kremlin propaganda. You're never going to believe who this guy sat down with and tried to have just like a normal conversation with, right? So we'll be talking about that. Also, the fuel shortages in Crimea, Moscow strikes, etc. We got a battle plans exposed. We got a ton to look at. I think I've brought up at least, 14 or 15 different videos this morning about, happenings in and around Ukraine. And there's so much to get into. So hopefully we can squeeze it in. We're going to start off today where we've been starting starting off with a congratulations with another thank you to you guys. We have now cracked the 80% mark, ladies and gentlemen. We are now less than 20%, of the way to our goal. Let's go to 20,500 euro. We're now over 16,737 euro, which has got to be somewhere in the vicinity of 19,000 US dollars. And again, in less than 3 weeks, to be able to do that with the channel of less than 25,000 subscribers, I believe deserves a round of applause. I think it proves that we're punching well above our weight class as far as that's concerned. But let's make this final push. I know we've seen a little bit of a slowdown, and understandably so, but let's see if we can make this push. And again, if you can't even donate $1, that's perfectly fine. Just share this out. That would be fantastic and is so helpful to this whole campaign in general. The more eyes that it gets in front of, the more likelihood that somebody's going to have that opportunity to be able to contribute. So again, you can head over to help99.co, type in Boston Brian or Summer of Drones, and it should take you right to our latest campaign. Look for the Summer of Drones patches or the Skyfall patches, or again, the Kherson is Ukraine patch, and that should, like I said, kind of separate our campaign from the rest of them. But there's a ton of them on there, and I just appreciate all 139 different donations from you guys. I know latest on there was Tiff. I know Tiff sent one in there. Let me see, you on the wall? Yeah, there you are. Tiff sent in a little contribution with a message to everybody. So much appreciated for the whole community getting involved in this. Edmund, Gregory, Steve, Jeffrey, Magda, Susie, Margot, Kay, and like I said, we could run down the entire list and take up a good portion of the show doing so. But if you have any questions on what this is about, what we're raising the money for, where it's going, all of those questions are answered right on this website, right on this specific page. Like I said, who's getting the aid, what the goal is, basically what the truck consists of. There's a whole video there if you want to take a look at, what these new NAFO 3.0 trucks have as far as upgrades from the last version. And like I said, this is our second campaign, so very honored and very privileged to be able to be a part of this, to be able to contribute in, again, the largest war in Europe since World War II, where countries, especially ours here in the United States, have not stepped up in the way that they should be stepping up. It is a real honor and a real privilege and something that I'll never forget. So let's see if we can get this taken care of. Let's get to 100% with that. And like I said, I'll be more than happy to fly over there and hand this vehicle over in person and send a video back to you guys, record it live, whatever I can do, so you guys can see the appreciation, see the people that are accepting these trucks and going into the front to use these vehicles that are extremely helpful and go to save lots and lots of lives. Like I said, the vehicles take the damage so that the people don't have to. That's why we continuously have to keep pushing with these campaigns, whether it be, with the NAFO 69 Sniffer Brigade. I know there's Cars for Ukraine. There's a ton of different great organizations sending in, drones, vehicles, anything they possibly can to help the Ukrainian military in their fight. And where we've seen a dramatic and drastic shift in this war more recently with the Ukrainians' ability and willingness to attack down there in Crimea and obviously attack Russia's oil supply, oil facilities, oil ports, and the degradation that's had on the Russian fuel economy, Russian fuel supply in general. Obviously, now is the time where all of this equipment, any equipment we could possibly be sending to the front, is probably at its most useful. So thank you guys once again for getting us to this point. Again, over 80% of the way there. Let's just finish off with that last, less than 20%. That would be absolutely fantastic to be able to finish this out in less than a month, where I think our first one took roughly 2 months. I think it was a little less than 2 months for us to get to this, same and specific goal here. So, to cut that in half for our second campaign really goes to show how much you guys, not only participate in this, but how generous you are with your donation. So very much appreciated. Huge shout out to the Blunt Politics community and anybody else sharing this out. W's in the chat for every single one of you motherfuckers that have made this possible. And again, it's all of the gratitude, all the appreciation in the world. So before we dive into some of the other stories that we have today, I wanted to just touch base on this. Everybody was speaking about this morning. Obviously, a big slap in the face to the Trump administration. This is Fox News reacting to the new SCOTUS decision, which was upholding birthright citizenship, which again has been in the Constitution since, I believe, the 1860s, if I'm not mistaken. Again, probably a scholar in the chat that could correct me if I'm wrong or give me the specific date. I believe it's somewhere in that general vicinity of history, the 1860s. But, there's people freaking the fuck out on the right over this. Really not happy with Amy Coney Barrett. Definitely not happy with the Supreme Court in general, and really confused as to why this is a thing. I just read one before I got on. I think it was Nick Swole something. I didn't pull it up. I didn't have time to pull it up, but he was like, wait. So you're saying that anybody from any country can just come into the United States and have a baby, and that baby is literally a United States? Like, you don't understand. Like, welcome to 1860s. You know what I'm saying? Like, where have you been for all of these years? That's quite literally the definitional use of that. You know what I mean? Like, so again, the people that are freaking out obviously are not constitutionalists by any stretch of the imagination, but this is, again, a huge slap in the face to Donald Trump. Add this in with the, the mail-in voting decision, and it's like, I don't know, the Supreme Court is just kind of giving us a few, they're giving us a couple crumbs to kind of throw us off the scent, maybe. I'm not sure, but we'll take the small victories where we can get them and the obvious victories where we could get them. Obvious being here with the birthright citizenship and, everything that goes along with that. But I just wanted to play it real quick from Fox News, the clip of them finding out about this Supreme Court ruling, and you can tell how surprised, shocked, and kind of depressed they are about the ruling. So just real quick, this is posted by Fact Post. It says Fox News reacts to SCOTUS upholding birthright citizenship and dealing a major legal blow to the Trump administration. This is, I think, less than a minute, so I'll play this real quick.
Shannon, we have another decision, and it's a big one. It has to do with birthright citizenship. It was an executive order that President Trump, on day one of his second term in January 2025, signed the executive order. It was immediately challenged, and now we can tell you that the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled against President Trump's order to limit birthright citizenship. Shannon, we have talked for some time about the president feeling that he would not win on this one. The question is, why not?
Okay, right up.
One word, Constitution. We can make it 2 words and just put the in front of the Constitution. So just the Constitution, right? So that's probably the reason why he lost. I'm just going to assume, like I said, I'm no constitutional scholar by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm just going to, throw it in there once again that we're looking back at around the 1860s. I think it was like 1864, 1865, somewhere in that general vicinity. Again, somebody in the chat can probably correct me and, specify the exact date that went into went into effect. But, Fox News reacting like you expect they would. I'm just curious. So let's see if there was anything else that I could find on this. Let's see if I can find that. Yeah, there's people freaking out. So Nick Sordor going, wow, Justice Alito is absolutely fuming over the SCOTUS, giving the green light to birthright citizenship. In my judgment, the court has made the mistake that will seriously affect the country's future. Suppose that a person's only connection to this country is that he was born here to a mother who he was present just long enough to give birth and then quickly returned to her native country. Again, that's what the Constitution states. And then there's a lot of people just freaking out about this. Gunther Eagleman, talking about how this is ridiculous and why would the Supreme Court do this? How could they possibly? Matt Walsh freaking out about this. We all knew that SCOTUS would uphold the farce birthright citizenship. That doesn't change the fact that it's a catastrophic decision for the country and idiotic on its face based on logic that nobody actually believes. And again, it just goes on with right-wingers. SCOTUS ruled 5-4 that children born out of illegal aliens in the United States do obtain birthright citizenship, says Scott Pressler. And like I said, you could go on all day and just take a look at the, hilarious reaction from people that don't understand what the Constitution says. This decision is egregiously wrong. SCOTUS upheld unlimited birthright citizenship. A bad reading of the 14th Amendment stripped Americans of control over who joins our political community. Our political community? The fuck does that mean? Stripped Americans of control over who joins our political community. What? The fuck? What does that mean? You turn in this whole country into the Republican Party at this point, or what does that entail right there? I fought this in court. I'm fighting in Congress. We must win. And again, you can see everybody is the conservative war machine again, complaining and crying about it. Eric Doherty crying and complaining about it. Let's see if I can find that. What was the guy's name? Matt Swole. I thought it was something like that idiot. I just want to see if I can find that moron real quick. Matt, I'll just do SW. I think it was something like that. Swole, something. I could be wrong. Oh, yeah. Van Swole, this idiot, this asshole. Put this on the screen. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, here it is. Wait, he says. So the Supreme Court basically ruled that anyone from anywhere who came into the country by any means can have a baby in the United States, and that baby is automatically an American citizen. What are we even doing here? That is obviously insane. And then everybody's pointing out here, birthright citizenship has been in the Constitution 1868. I was a couple years off. My apologies, but give me a break. Like I said, conservatives suddenly discovering the 14th Amendment in 2026 is hilarious, says Alex Cole. A lot of people on here pointing out the ridiculousness of this post. Pastor Ben, how do you think your filthy bloodline got access to the constitutional right of citizenship, Matt Vance? Well, Constitution, bitch. It's in the construction. So again, you can see here people calling him out for that. But a lot of Republicans, a lot of conservatives, definitely not happy about this decision. He goes on to talk about what on earth? This is absurd. Oh my goodness. They actually upheld what was in the Constitution. These fucking freaks. You know what I'm saying? So again, this is probably taken over some of your social media feed this morning. So obviously the victories need to be taken where you can get them. And like I said, this seems to be the Supreme Court just kind of throwing us a couple breadcrumbs, throwing us off the trail a little bit of some of their more egregious rulings. So again, there's a lot more going on with that. But most people obviously talking about that and how pissed off conservatives and Republicans are and how mad Donald Trump is at the fact that he has kind of been struck down once again by his own controlled Supreme Court. I will add the president, the Supreme Court, the House, the Senate, the DOJ, the Pentagon, DNI. I mean, the list goes on at the shit that he controls. And, you know, he continues to kind of lose at every turn, even when he's got control over the institutions that, you know, he's requesting these things from. But all right, let's jump on here a little bit. And I want to go back and touch upon the ongoing embarrassment that was and is the American State Fair, Great Fair, Trump 250, whatever the hell you want to call it. Because boy, oh boy, is Fox working overtime to try to cover up for this fucking chaos, right? Cover up for this absolute disaster. I mean, look at the background. I mean, I understand not the best weather, but you would think for something that Donald Trump, the president, said was going to have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people attend, they might brave some of what is not really that bad weather. You know what I mean? There'd still be people. They do sell ponchos, even if it is raining. I've seen people in Six Flags, Disneyland, all over the fucking place in drizzle, rain, still having fun, right? Still being able to maintain that level of fun, even though, you know, the weather is inclement, to say the least. But here is the, you know, Fox News doing their best. They brought on the band here to kind of play a little ditty. Don't mind the empty space in the background and all the grass that has absolutely no people on it whatsoever. And as Aaron Rupar posted, he says, every Fox News live shot today from Trump's post rapture like State Fair on the National Mall has been hilarious. Here's a supercut. So he put together just kind of a couple clips of Fox News trying to make it seem like this was the best and the biggest and the most well-attended thing in the history of this country, when obviously the shots of what you're looking at behind the band right now tell a different story. So I just want to see if I can play this real quick. And then there was this as well, this clip from Fox News that a lot of people are talking about, where the guy pretty much tells you, don't believe your lying eyes. You know, don't look at the space behind me. He's like pretty much like throws his hand up to block the camera. Don't mind the big empty space behind me. You know, it's a really, really large space, and you'll be elbowing people out of the way to try to get into this thing. So we'll take a look at that right after this, and then let's see if we can dive into this little super clip that Aaron Upar put together of Fox News trying to cover up for this disastrous American State Fair. There's the Ferris wheel that was broken for a period of time that nobody got to ride. I mean, you can tell just really, really well attended there. And again, granted, not the best of weather, but even when the weather wasn't like this, wasn't well attended anyway. You know what I mean? Just an absolute shame. And I will stipulate, I think there's been a couple clips going out there of Fox News that was in the grounds before it was actually open. So I don't know exactly. It says 8 a.m. there, so I'm not sure if it was open at that period of time. So again, I'll grant them with that grain of salt, that little bit of clemency, a little bit. But again, the other super clips that are clearly when it is open and there are people in attendance, you know, doesn't show much of a better picture for them. Nor can I listen to that anymore. Yeah, here it is. So clearly open right now in the background, and it doesn't look like people are elbowing people out of the way. You know what I mean? It's not like there's a fight for the front row, to say the least. You know what I mean? I don't think people are waiting in line very long to get into this so they could see a styrofoam Trump arch that is quite literally falling apart by the day behind them. Oh, you know what's so dumb is I should probably throw this on the screen. It'd be fantastic that entire time.
Personally,
dummy.
as you've seen yourself, there is a big energy here on the National Mall.
Look at just fucking again, and it's ridiculous when you see clips like this. This is what makes it even dumber. Like, it wouldn't even be bad if they were just recognizing that it was a disaster. Like, the exhibit sucked. There was no technological marvels and shows for people to to draw crowds in. It was an utter embarrassment. A lot of these things was like 2 chairs and a couple facts about lobsters, which again, we're not mad about here at Blunt Politics. We'll take any facts about lobsters as we can. What was his name? Jordan Peterson really has a thing for lobsters, if you didn't know. Let me see. Yeah, I think he said this. Once.
They've been conserved since the time of lobsters, right? There weren't trees around when lobsters first manifested themselves on the planet.
So basically, that could have been posted on the back of like the main display in the main tent, and that would have been fine. Probably would have been a little better of what they, than what they did have. But here's Fox News trying to cover up for this disaster when it clearly is open, so that they don't even have that, grain of salt to be given to them anymore. That's not even an excuse, not even an option at this point, because clearly it's open. But what you're going to see is this guy try to be like, don't believe your lying eyes. I know it looks empty behind me, but it's really not that empty. It's kind of like an optical illusion because of how big the space is, really. But, we can sit here and count if you want, and it'd probably be like I think I said the first time we looked at one of these clips, it was like, I'll give them 4, maybe 300-400 people that were in the entirety of the grounds that it covers there. But listen to this Fox News clip. It's only 13 seconds long, but you can see how the propaganda was in full swing here.
And sometimes the pictures really don't tell the full story, because if you look behind us, you see, okay, there are a couple hundred people back there, but the truth is, when you make your way over here and you're in a wash of people, and sometimes
may look like there's only 200, and I said about 3. I said 3 to 400. He didn't even give them that much. He basically cut that in half. He went from the 400 that I was, too willing to give them, cut it down to 200, and then said you were going to be fighting through a sea of people. Like, what sea of people are you going to have to fight through? There's probably more protesters on the outside of this thing than there are people enjoying it on the inside. And like I said, on the last show, we kind of went in and covered a little bit of the the exhibits or lack thereof, the pricing for the food, the fact that the food tent lost power, so all the ice cream melted, the Ferris wheel was down. It's been an utter shit show. Just to say the least, it's been an utter shit show. And it looks like more and more there's been, basically some sort of embezzlement going on where, we talked about how they kind of hijacked this whole thing from, real organizations that were going to put on probably a much, much, much better show and display than this was. And I think they reported like how much this actually cost. And there's just no way in hell that it cost them that much to, again, throw up the styrofoam arch, throw up the fucking Ferris wheel, and put a bunch of tents up. I think it was like, what was it, 100 million or something around those lines, or 300, somewhere between 100 and 300. So clearly somewhere, somebody somewhere pocketed a shitload of money as far as that's concerned, which is why you're seeing this debacle right now. But yeah, that was the ongoing disaster and the unmitigated disaster of Trump's little fucking state fair that he put on with the rodeo. And the best thing that people had to talk about and Fox had to talk about was the fact that you could lasso a chair that was shaped like a bowl at the Wyoming tent. So hopefully you didn't spend $32 on a cheeseburger and then go and not be able to get your ice cream so that you could see the Wyoming tent because you thought it was going to be this like huge event. And then you were just lassoing a fucking chair. You know what I mean? But, right in line with what this presidency has been responsible for and capable of this entire time. So I don't know why it's a shock to anybody that everything this guy touches absolutely turns to shit right away. Doesn't take very long. It's not like you have to wait around to see it. No, you don't have to wait around to find out if it will turn to shit. No, it turns to shit goddamn immediately. And this is a guy that's saying these things out loud, right? Just clearly giving Democrats the most ammunition he could possibly afford them going into midterm elections when he said shit like, I don't think about Americans' financial situation. And then he talks about how housing isn't really important. And then he talks about how he doesn't want to drive the price of houses down. He wants to drive the price of housing up. right? Again, with a list of other things that pretty much show he's a selfish, arrogant, self-centered prick that doesn't give a shit about the American people whatsoever. All he cares about is enriching himself and his family's pockets, and that's clearly, what it shows with some of these. But this was put together by Fact Post again. And it's just kind of a compilation of 4 instances that we were just discussing where Trump's pretty clearly shown the American people that he's not working for them. He's not working for us, and that he's only doing this for his own fucking, again, selfish purposes. And this is a combination of it's not important. It's so unimportant. Again, talking about the housing bill. It's a big yawn talking about the housing bill. And then the clip where he said he doesn't think about Americans' financial situation. And then the last one where he says he doesn't want to drive housing prices down. He wants to drive the cost of housing up, again, as people in this country continue to talk about the struggle and how basically impossible it is to buy a house at a very young age, or even a not so young age. Speaking in my own experiences, it seems to be almost a physical impossibility at this point that I will ever generally own my own residence, my own home, based upon how much things are costing right now and the rise of, exponential rise of what things are costing. It doesn't seem like it's a remote possibility. So as that's going on, and we're seeing homeless increase, we're seeing, vets, not being taken care of, all of these things, Donald Trump talking about raising the cost of living up, raising the cost of, buying a house up so that less people could get into the market. But his billionaire friends, that 1% class, the people that own, homes in every fucking corner of the country and every continent and on this planet, they can, continue to rake in the rewards of the ever increasing home prices throughout the country, whether it be because the corporations were steadily buying those up all over the place, not doing anything with them, which eventually limited supply, which eventually drove the cost of everybody else's housing up. So that's, again, there's kind of, and then you can add this to, what was the other one that he said as well? Oh, where he said he loved inflation. So again, all of this ammunition should be stuck right in the belt of every single Democrat, and all people should be playing these videos or sound bites every opportunity they get. You're struggling today, aren't you? Yes, we are. We're struggling. We're pissed off at the way this economy is going. Okay, listen to this clip of the President of the United States basically directly say he doesn't give a fuck about you and your financial situation, and he doesn't care about you and your grandkids or your son and how much they're struggling to be able to save enough money to buy a house or to pay the rent, right? So this is, again, a Fact Post. Let's throw this on. We'll just kind of go in order. The first one is where he says the housing bill is so unimportant. Again, one of the only bipartisan pieces of legislation we've seen recently, in recent memory, that I could see that it was actually even a minute step forward for people, for people that needed it, like a thing to improve upon, the circumstances and situations of the people in this country, the blue collar workers, the middle class, the lower class people. Again, was it perfect? Absolutely not. Was there things that we desperately need to improve upon? Was there things that we could add to it still? Absolutely, work to be done. Was it a general step in the right direction, a general bipartisan step in the right direction where that is not really seen all that often anymore? Absolutely it was. So again, this is what Donald Trump continues to shoot down. I'll go through these.
Elections. What are your plans for the housing?
Yeah, we'll go through them like this.
Elections. What are your plans for the housing bill, Mr. President?
I don't know. I think it's so unimportant by compared to the Save America Act. I think this.
Yeah, in comparison with the act that will basically allow Donald Trump and Republicans to steal elections for quite some time to come. Like, obviously, it's less important that people have homes in this country and like people can afford their rent and people have access to shelter in this country than, according to Donald Trump, than anything that will allow and afford the Republicans and Donald Trump himself to go on to steal the midterm election and elections, into the future there. But it's so unimportant. He seems like he just woke up or he needs a nap again at that point in time. But then there's this one where he basically calls it a big yawn.
Will you sign that housing bill?
I have not. It hasn't been sent to me yet. It's coming, I understand, and then I'll make it. Here's what I would like to sign. Much more than a bill. That big deal. It's a yawn.
It's a yawn.
It's wonderful.
It's a yawn. Again, housing in this country, a huge problem. Some call it a crisis in this country. And the President of the United States not only saying it's a yawn, it's unimportant, but that he wants to do the opposite. of what would be beneficial for the majority of the working class, middle class, and lower class people in this country, which is, again, continue to raise and drive up the cost of housing prices in this country. Again, we're trying to get more people into houses, make it easier for people to access that housing that we have in this country, build more houses, right? You know what I mean? And he's trying to do the exact opposite. So that's the one where he says it's a big yawn. This is the one from a few weeks ago where he says he doesn't think about the Americans' financial situation. Again, all pieces of ammunition. All things that should go directly to help the American people understand who's going to be more effective, who's going to be more beneficial for them in the upcoming midterm elections, and obviously going into the presidential and the general election, right? So again, this is where he said he doesn't think about Americans' financial situation.
Think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody. I think about what.
I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody, is what he said. I know it's difficult to hear there because of the helicopter behind him, and then obviously here is the last one where he says he doesn't want to drive the cost of housing, the prices of housing down. He wants to drive them up.
So much talk about, we're going to drive housing prices down. I don't want to drive housing prices down. I want to drive housing prices up. There's so much talk about, we're going to drive housing prices down.
One more time.
I don't want to drive housing prices down. I want to drive housing prices up.
So again, all things that we should stick right in our little belt, right in our little work belt. And every time somebody has a problem with, what they're spending on their rent, basically, how much housing is costing, and basically their daughter's problems or their son's problems in finding a house, or, trying to get out of their house, just show them this shit. Tell them this shit. This is what the president of the United States is saying about your economic problems right now. This is what he's saying about, the cost of housing right now. This is what he's saying about shooting down the housing bill that, again, was all ready to be signed, had the fucking desk set up, had the podium set up, the chairs set up, the flag set up, the lights were there, the media was there, and then Donald Trump decided to throw his little temper tantrum and throw a big wrench in the works of that as well. So that's basically a few different things from Donald Trump that would give us ammunition going into the midterms. I'm sure there's 1,000 other things that we could talk about: corruption, fraud, foreign policy, obviously more of his domestic policy, but also things like this as well. I know this has been kind of looked at as an AI image that Donald Trump posted on his Truth Social, but I think the problem remains. I think the comparison remains, regardless if this is something that is currently, adorning the White House, or if it's just something that Donald Trump posted to his Truth Social site as a golden gift for the White House that he'd like to see. I think there's some clear historical comparisons and historical references that we could make using this eagle, using this kind of this logo that Donald Trump posted. But a lot of people rightly making the comparisons to the Party Adler, to the Reichsadler as well. The head of the eagle in the direction that it's facing. I know there's been a lot of maggots online, and let me see if I can throw this up real quick, because there was a lot of maggots online trying to bring up the fact that, it's just the Great American Seal. But let me bring up the Great American Seal, okay? Great American Seal. Let's see here. So, all right, let me throw this on the screen, and then we'll just see the difference. So the first difference right off the bat is I don't know if you want to call it the structure of the wings or the positioning of the wings. So clearly it's not an up and out like you'd see here on the Great Seal. Another difference right off the bat that I saw between that and, let me go back to this, right? So we'll just go back, and I'll keep showing you back and forth of this one. Make it a little bigger on the screen for you, is, again, if you count the stars, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 stars. What the fuck does 11 stars represent? That's not even the 13 original colonies, right? So again, this whole thing is ridiculous from start to finish. But another thing that I noticed right off the bat is the talons. Right. So if you'll go back to the seal, you'll notice the talons are clutching very specific things. I believe it's oak leaves and arrows in each of its talons there. So a very clear and specific seal, right, that you would be able to recreate or regenerate, even if it's using AI, if you want to put this on the front of the White House. So to see this, right, And then you're looking at it, it's like, okay, I know the difference in my studies of World War II between the Partei-Adler, which is the party eagle, and the Reichsadler, which was the eagle used generally by the German state. The Partei-Adler was specifically used by the Nazis and almost always looked to its right, which would mean it would be looking to our left, looking at it. So if you'll also notice and take a look at what you're looking at on your screen, you'll notice which way the head is facing on that eagle. Right? I mean, you could also bring up, and, I'd be remiss if I didn't also bring up that on this eagle, the Great Seal, it is also looking right, but it is also very different, right? It's also, like I said, with the talons, there's actually no talons in the one that Donald Trump posted. The wing position on this one is completely different. So again, we continue to go back and forth. We continue to show you guys and see the historical differences here. These wings are pretty specific, right? They're pretty clearly specific. So let me just show you if I could see. Put this on there. I'll do the Partei one now, Partei-Adler, and we'll just do the comparisons. We'll just go through it like we should, right? We'll go images, throw this on the screen. All right, so here we go. So here's we'll bring up, because this is a picture that a lot of people are bringing up as well. Throw this on your screen real quick. Where'd it go? Which one is it? And yeah, here we go, right there. There we go. Where you going? There you go. All right. So everybody, as you'll notice here, and this is obviously one of the more famous photos of the famous moments from, Adolf Hitler's reign there. But you can see in the background kind of the general likeness of not only the wing shape there, the positioning of the wings, but also which way the head is facing. And that is, again, a lot different. I don't know why that's popping up. It's also different than the Reichsadler. So we can go back if you want. I'll make myself a little bigger on the screen, and we'll go back and we can do the Reichsadler as well, and you can see how that differs obviously in the way that the head is facing as well. Let me see if we can do that. We'll do the Reichsadler as well, just to kind of go through this whole thing, just so everybody's kind of up to speed on the the comparisons that we're making. Let's see here. So that's the double-headed one. That's the single-headed one. So this is a good example. You could probably look at it here. So, let me throw this on the screen real quick. So this thing, that's not it. Where'd it go? Well, now I got to do it again, for crying out loud. Jesus Christ. So this one right here. So this one above my head. So you can clearly see the difference. You can see actually the difference in these two right here. Eagle's head facing one way, eagle's head facing the other way. Clearly representing, again, the difference between the Partei-Adler and the Reichsadler there. Again, one used by the German state, the other one's used specifically by the Nazi party, but not very difficult. People that aren't even, kind of historically up to speed on a lot of these things. We're pointing out this similarities in what's been going on, and especially if you add in the rhetoric, especially if you add in like the goals, especially if you add in the policies. Like, it's not really difficult when you see the president of the United States posting to his Truth Social shit like this, kind of what he's trying to represent and the people in his party that love what he espouses and why they'd also like shit like this. You know what I'm saying? Just kind of wanted to point that out as we continue along. But all right, here's a little bit more from the ongoing nonsense, the ongoing buffoonery with the MOU between the United States and Iran, and also between Lebanon and Israel, because not long after apparently and allegedly Lebanon and Israel had come to some sort of agreement, we're now looking at shit like this being reported by Al Jazeera. This is reporting on a massive explosion that shook the southern Lebanese village of Majal Zun. As Israel's military claimed it destroyed a 200-meter-long Hezbollah tunnel, as they typically claim. The immense detonation comes despite a U.S.-mediated ceasefire framework between Israel and Lebanon aimed at ending hostilities. So like we've seen time and time again, the reports, right, of alleged kind of framework of some sort of negotiations, of some sort of ceasefire, only to be then followed subsequently by what is ongoing bombing, ongoing death, ongoing destruction here. And there's a few kind of videos from this as well. And this was a really, really large explosion. So let me see if I'll throw this, make this bigger on the screen. We'll just kind of play this. It's a 20-second clip of that. I'm not sure if there's any sound. It says, as you can see, Israeli military video from Majal Zun, Lebanon, 28 June 2026. And it says, Israel triggers huge explosion in southern Lebanon. You can see it in the back. So again, this is what they want you to believe is a ceasefire. This is what they want you to believe is evidence of ongoing peace, of stability, of, kind of don't look over this way. We got everything taken care of, even to the point where Alex Jones is posting and calling this shit out. He said Israel just carried out what experts say is one of the largest single warhead explosions in modern military history, destroying a village in southern Lebanon under the rubric of demolishing tunnels. The massive blast registered on seismic monitors and was heard in Israel. Let me see if this one has the sound on it, because I know the last one didn't have the sound attached. Let me see if this one does. No, I think there's one on this chain here, on this thread that does. This is Ryan Rosbiani said, this is not a movie. This is footage of the IDF blowing up what they claim are tunnels in Lebanon. God knows how many civilians were hurt above and how much land was destroyed. Let me see if there's, again, sound on this. I know one of them has the sound attached to it. I'm not sure which one it was. No, must not be this one either. See the ongoing. Yep, there comes the impact. I know it's tough to kind of make out the size of it in that. There's really nothing to give you like reference on. Here's another one that just kind of gives you an indication of like, the size of it. This is Israel wiped out an entire town off the map after signing a peace deal with Lebanon. This is 624 and this is 629. So you can see the clear differences in the settlements there. The settlement that we're looking at between the 24th and the 29th. This goes on here. This is because a lot of people are trying to call out Rashida Tlaib, who seemed to be immediately proven right in a lot of these circumstances. Let me see here. I know one of these has the sound. Was it this one? Because like I said, it's tough to give you visual reference on that without like anything on the screen to see. So like the sound kind of gives you an indication, but we might as well touch base on this. So this is reported by Drop Site. It says U.S. Rep Rashida Tlaib's message to the Lebanese Aoun government after it recently agreed to a framework agreement with Israel. She said, quote, to the Lebanese government, learn the lessons of the countries before you and the lessons of Lebanon's own history. The Israeli government does not abide by any agreements. They have violated every single ceasefire and all the so-called peace agreements time and time again. A ceasefire with Israel means you cease, they fire. Wake up. The so-called agreement is not protecting the Lebanese people. This is about an apartheid government and structure expanding into your country. Do not abandon your land and your people and become another subcontractor for the Israeli occupation. And again, this was said as we're looking at this in this a massive explosion going on. And let me see here. I believe maybe it was this one. This is posted. Israel and Lebanon signed a peace agreement for the first time in 43 years. 2 days ago, Israel responded by dropping thermo bombs on Lebanese villages, killing many. And I'm sure, we'll have to wait to see the death toll associated with this strike. But I'm just curious if this was the one that had the sound of the explosion on it. I think so. There you go. So you can just kind of make out some of the, the buildings in this shot, right? I know it's, like I said, difficult to make out really any specific objects to get kind of a grasp on how, large this explosion was. But you can just kind of make out some of the, the buildings in and around this explosion, which kind of gives you an indication, like I said, along with the sound, to play the sound one more time, at how large this was. So again, that was that video, and I think there was some other pieces of footage to come out from this. I'm not sure. Might have to refresh, see if they have any other updates from us on this one. I think this was also from on the ground, if I'm not mistaken. This is from the 28th, Nabatea, Lebanon, a few days ago. Lebanon signed a peace deal and ceasefire with Israel. This is how Israel views peace. Again, this is just a real quick 6-second clip showing some of the destruction from on the ground there.
الغارة بالملولي الغارة بالملولي.
So again, just some of the ongoing destruction seen even after apparently Israel and Lebanon had signed some sort of framework to a treaty or framework to peace. But, we've consistently seen that reported, and then we've consistently seen people die just after those things have been reported as well. So nobody's really believing any of that bullshit anymore, especially when you see the footage and you hear, some of the rhetoric coming from, the Israeli military. I don't think anybody's hopeful that this is going to stop anytime soon. Not only that, but it seems seems to be that some of the points agreed to in that framework, agreed to between Israel and Lebanon, kind of really specifically contradicts what was in the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding between Iran and the United States, as it pertains to the whereabouts, the location of the IDF, of the Israeli military when it comes to southern Lebanon. So again, it seems to be kind of working against one another. Two things that seem to be dead on arrival right off the bat. But it really helps if you guys were to continue to boost this live. These things that we talk about are not really things that the old YouTube algorithm and all of these other platforms really boost up there themselves. So we kind of rely upon you guys to get out there and share these live streams and the videos and the shorts that we do on social media. If you could hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, it really, really goes a long way to help. Thank you to everybody in the chat that's utilizing the Venmo up there in the corner. Again, all we ask for is a buck or two. Anything more than that is totally 100% up to you guys and your financial capabilities. But if everybody in the chat just gave $1, 4 quarters, it would go a long, long way at boosting this community. But thank you guys so much. I'm trying to keep out of the corner of my eye. Watch out for everybody that's sending in a super chat or a super sticker in the YouTube chat as well, because like I said, somehow StreamYard is now left that to my device. Somehow they used to compile it for me, but now I got to do it on my own. So I'm doing double duty here. So again, my apologies if I do happen to miss anybody, but typically, actually not typically, all the time at the end of the show, after every live stream, we always go and thank everybody that sent in a Venmo. Again, utilizing the QR code up in the corner, or everybody that sent in a super chat, super sticker, gifted memberships, or anything like that. At the end of every show, you guys get your moment in the sun, a little appreciation and some gratitude from the channel here. So make sure if you put one in the chat there, stick around to the end so I can say thank you to everybody. All right, what do you say we dive on to the latest story here that I wanted to dive into, which is this ridiculousness. And like I said, I'd be kind of remiss if I didn't touch base on this, being a Boston guy myself, and how just absolutely ludicrous this is. A guy that right now is trying to promote his book that he definitely didn't write himself because he can't even fucking read it, right? Before I even get into the Jesse Waters clip of Dave Portnoy of Barstool Sports out of Boston, actually saying that he's thinking about a political run so that he could challenge Zoran Mamdani. Again, laughable. I wish a motherfucker would, I guess, is my response to that. But I'm just here to kind of call out and show you that you shouldn't be too afraid at this moron. Just to let you know, I mean, really nothing to be afraid of. Unfortunately, we're now looking at a guy where we have somebody just as stupid in the White House. So I don't think I can kind of convince you or tell you to trust me 100% as far as that's concerned. But, there are a few things that we could call out and show you where it should immediately show the people. Not only that, but being a Boston guy and thinking you can run in New York City is fucking absurd anyway. You know what I mean? Just the whole rivalry thing between Boston and New York. I know he's got offices in New York with Barstool and shit, but I don't think he's done enough. You know what I mean? I don't think he's done enough to overcome the years-long rivalry that we have between New York City and Boston fans. But here's just a quick clip. Like I said, a guy that thinks he can convince people that he wrote a book, showing us that he can't even fucking read the book, right? So I don't think it's really any secret that somebody else came in, wrote, edited, researched, published this book, and just happened to slap Dave Portnoy's face on the thing, right? Just happened to give him a little credit at the end there. Maybe wrote a little bit of an intro like Dave wrote it, but now he's out there trying to take credit for it. But this is him. And again, credit where credit is due, kind of making fun of himself, right? On his own show about how he can't read. And he says it's because he's dyslexic, when in another episode, in another show, he's questioned if he's actually been diagnosed as being dyslexic, and he has to admit that no, it's something that he just uses as an excuse, basically, because he's a fucking moron. You know what I mean? But this is just a real quick clip, about a minute, 20 seconds, if that. We won't even have to dive into that much, of him trying to show everybody how bad he is at doing the audio version. That's what I'm suspecting. I think he kind of did an audio version of him reading the book out. And this is what came out of that, that audio version. This is him stuttering, stammering, slammering, dumbling. I don't even know what you'd call it at this point, but I don't think he gets a word correct. Check this out.
Is so mad that he's doing this.
I can't wait to listen.
So here's just Austin says there's like an hour of this.
Are you doing the reading yourself? Yes. I'm just going to read it.
Okay, so this is again him trying to read his own book that he's trying to get everybody to believe that he wrote, and we're only going to dive into, like I said, a couple seconds of this. I'm just trying to, give you a little backstory. I'm trying to lead you up, give you a little, information of who we're going to be talking to as we look at his clip with Jesse Waters of him trying to thinking about challenging Zohran Mamdani in a race in politics in New York. There, so here he is. This is the guy that seems to think that he's going to have a run in politics sometime in the near future.
Charged, that are
and again, those are his employees laughing directly in his face. I wanted to stipulate
dyslexia, I think. There were two things. I'm not a guilt, but Jamaica's true. That makes sense. What happened is just something doesn't make sense. There are definitely moments when I thought, what the fuck did I get myself into here? Kind of like reading this book. I'd be broke. My mother makes a spectacular dessert called sour cream. Sour cream cake. Technology has never
nailed it on that one. I'm sure everybody's going to enjoy the shit out of this audio version of the book. He hasn't gotten a word right yet.
Forte, nor is reading. More than double your like. It was all hands, all deck. Both
all hands, all deck, or all hands on deck. Either way you want to say it, I'm sure people will they'll understand it. They'll probably look at you funny, be like, what the fuck's wrong with you? But they will understand what you meant to say, I guess.
Not that it's on and on.
It's like, take out any of those.
Sound like gibberish.
I couldn't.
And again, those are his employees talking about how his reading sounds like a little kid and some gibberish. But again, these are the people that want us to believe they have a future in politics as well. Not to mention some of, and again, I'll probably let's give you the full backstory. Let's give you the full backstory before we dive into the Jesse Waters clip. So I just had the old AI machine put together just a couple instances that Dave's known for, kind of the egregious things that he said, the egregious things that he's tweeted. And, this is what came out. It says, Dave Portnoy, the founder of Barstool Sports, has built a massive media empire on a bro culture brand that frequently pushes boundaries or of offensive and provocative content, right? It goes on to say misogynistic and sexual assault comments, kind of has it listed. So again, if AI can list these things in categories about your past, probably not a good thing. So he made this comment, which is, one that he's very famous for, which is the skinny jeans rape joke, where he said in a 2010 blog that circulated heavily on social media, Portnoy wrote that if a woman is a size 6 and wearing skinny jeans, that she deserves to be raped. He later categorized the comment as a poorly received joke, but did not issue a formal apology. Attacks on female media figures. Portnoy has a history of using misogynistic slurs online against female journalists and media executives who criticized Barstool. He famously targeted an ESPN host with gender-based slurs after she called out his company's history of sexism. Colin Kaepernick and ISIS comments. He resurfaced in 2016 that sparked a debate on Twitter. Portnoy compared NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick to a terrorist. He stated, throw a head wrap on the guy. He's a terrorist. He looks like bin Laden. Portnoy fiercely defended the video against cancel cops, claiming it was a comedy skit that was taken out of context. And then we get the using the N-word, of course. You got to throw that in with all these degenerates as well. Clips circulated by online accountability groups revealed that Portnoy had used the N-word while rapping along to songs or discussing pop culture and past content. When confronted, Portnoy claimed he was uncancelable and refused to apologize, which I believe is something along the lines of the title of his new book, Unable to be Canceled or Non-Cancelable or some fucking bullshit, whatever it's called. He's talked about protesters following social media debates regarding Black Lives Matter and anti-racism policing protests. Portnoy stated on his channels that anyone blocking traffic to protest deserves to die a horrible, gruesome death. Greta Thunberg joke. Portnoy faced criticism on social media platforms for making a public joke about bombing climate activist Greta Thunberg and the Ocean Flotilla. And it just kind of goes on and on, talking about aggressive feuds, targeting athletes, stuff like that. So I want to point that out and make that very clear as we dive into this clip here with Jesse Waters. And he tries to bring up some of the past statements, past posts, things that some of the Zohran-backed candidates in New York have said in the past and how it scares the shit out of them. Meanwhile, I want you to recall and remember all of the things that we just brought up as far as Dave's past and the fact that he can't fucking read and kind of throw that back in his face. But here's the two dumbest people probably on Fox News at the moment at this, at the current time of taping. And this is the commie wave hits New York City. And Dave, like I said, just comes in to tell Jesse how scared he is of this movement. Not really scared of the pedophile in the White House. Not really scared of the pedophile in the White House protecting other pedophiles in the White House, or the pedophile in the White House with other pedophiles in the White House that are protecting other pedophiles surrounding the White House. That doesn't scare him, right? Doesn't scare him that the pedophile in the White House that's protecting other pedophiles in the White House is robbing the United States blind with acts of corruption and fraud, the likes of which have never been seen before in this country's history. Doesn't matter. Those things don't scare him. Doesn't scare him that the pedophile that's leading this country, that's protecting other pedophiles that are leading this country, that are rounding up U.S. citizens and shooting U.S. citizens in the streets of this country, and that we have like concentration camp like fucking places all over the place where people are being rounded up and held without fucking warrant, being held without without trial, being held without food, all of these things. Protesters that are being beaten in the streets because they're sitting there peacefully with signs. That doesn't scare Dave Portnoy. None of that. And all of the other things that we could talk about, the Qatari jet, obviously the foreign policy, the cuddling up to Vladimir Putin, the non-assistance like we should be in helping Ukraine, all of the different things, going after Greenland. None of those things scare Dave Portnoy, but these like ridiculously crazy things that are being espoused by Zoran Mandami and some of the people that he backed as far as in these primary elections. That's what really does scare Portnoy enough to saying that and thinking about actually making a push into politics. This moron making a push into politics. So again, like we said, Donald Trump being not only president once, but twice has opened the door for all of these fucking fuckbags that think they have like an ounce of credibility whatsoever, that think they have like a shred of what it takes to be a politician or to lead this country, because they look at this decrepit, degenerate fucking orange fool that's in the White House right now. And they're like, yeah, I could do that. Absolutely. I could do that. All he's doing is robbing people. All he's doing is stripping people of rights. All he's doing is taking healthcare away from people. Like, I could do that. So again, this is Jesse Waters and Dave Portnoy. I don't know if I picked it up at the right spot here, but it doesn't really matter. It's all stupid.
I mean, there's going to be a lot of money thrown around. This city is the financial capital of the world. He's talking about seizing property. They're talking about capping net worth. Would you ever step up and do anything about that?
So I've always thought I would never get involved in politics. I think you can do more in the private sector. This and what is going on has actually made me pause that thought. I was saying to you, that old Plato quote.
Not the Epstein list, guys. Again, not the Epstein list, right? Not the fact that we actively have the FBI, the DOJ, the White House, the House, the Senate, and everybody affiliated with those organizations and places upon inside our government that are now literally hiding the fact that there's a whole list of people out there, high-profile individuals that are inside and engaged in criminality that have been for generations and years with Jeffrey Epstein, with Donald Trump, and the rest of these fucking sick bastards. That doesn't scare him. None of that pisses him off enough to get him off the seat, to get him off the couch, to get him off his fucking, get him off the sand in his beach house in Nantucket. None of those things. Nothing like that. Or any of the wars that we're involved in, not 13 dead American soldiers, not billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars wasted, not the billions of dollars in damage that the U.S. bases have seen, not the lies that we've been told by not only the Pentagon, CENTCOM, Pete Hegseth, Donald Trump, repeatedly about the military capabilities that Iran still has left. All of the things that we could consistently list about this administration, the lies, the fraud, the con jobs, all of it, none of that was enough to get Dave Portnoy to speak up or do anything about it. But what's going on in New York, he can't take it. He cannot have that, ladies and gentlemen.
If you
can't have freezing rent for people, God forbid, people can actually take a deep breath and say, wow, my rent, I know my rent's going to be this for a little bit of time, right? I can actually now take what other money that I was kind of trying to put aside because of the ever increasing amount of rent that I've been paying and utilize that for a vehicle, utilize that to, take a vacation, utilize that to get something fixed in the apartment or in the house, whatever it may be. But God forbid any of these things happen that benefit, again, the lower and middle class people and the working class individuals of this country. That's what's going to get these people off their couch and say, I need to run.
Do your public service and run for office, you're doomed to be
Please
run
do.
by basically dummies.
Right.
And
Please
now,
do.
I feel like that's what's happening. Now, not everyone's getting out to vote. I think what the Democrats have done is they've let the fox into the hen house.
Right.
And now he's just running rampant and kicking them all out.
Right.
So it's a scary time. We need leaders to step up. Depending on what day you
And again,
catch
not
up.
a scary time because of the wars, right? Not a scary time because of the closure of the Strait of Hormuz and how quickly, oil prices spiked, how quickly the price at the pump spiked, and again, how unstable the region is in the Middle East and how much, obviously direct impact that has on our way of life. None of that was enough to scare them. That's not what they're talking about. That's not the, the biggest problem that we're facing right now. It's definitely, again, Zohran Mamdani and all of the things that he wants to do for the people of New York City.
Me in Nantucket, when I roll out of bed, I have a nice ocean view, and it's like, why do I want to ruin my life and get involved in this mess?
Oh, please do. There would be nothing that I would enjoy more than trying to see you on a debate stage with Zohran fucking Mamdani. Please. Somebody make that happen. I wish a motherfucker would. That should be the campaign slogan right now for everybody listening to Dave Portnoy talk about possibly getting into politics. I wish a motherfucker would. A Boston guy, and as a Boston guy, I'm just saying, trying to run in New York City, you're already fucking handicapped, okay? Somebody's already came and clipped you at the knees. You're already trying to run that race from behind. So to think that just because you have maybe a bar stool office in New York City and that somehow gets you like ingratiated to the people of New York City is fucking ludicrous. Okay, that's wild to suspect. That's just an idiot, a piece of idiocy that I just can't explain as far as that's concerned. But again, please do get on a debate stage. I'll do all the promos you can. Just spend a shitload of fucking money. Throw your own money into it. Please do, and you'll find out very quickly exactly what you're up against, what you're facing, really quickly.
You know what comes with it. But sometimes I do feel like it's my duty. I can't turn away. I feel like I could make a change. Maybe I do run in politics. So I don't know. It depends on the day you catch me. But let me say this. I spend a lot of my day losing my mind on what's happening right now, especially in New York.
Yeah.
I mean, you got the Nazi in Maine. This really, really, really worries me. So I'm not sure.
And again, it's amazing. He's got this time on Fox News. He's on with Jesse Water in the fucking prime spot, right? He's got the spotlight right there. Does he talk about what he's afraid of as far as the wars? Does he talk about how depressed he was and how angry he is about the death of our U.S. servicemen and women? Right? Does he talk about how many people have been thrown into poverty because of the instant rise in gas prices, because of the instant rise in energy prices, because of the instant rise in grocery prices? Any of that stuff. Does he talk about how mad he is, how much that upsets him, how it upsets him to see people struggling so much in the city that he works in, apparently New York City, that he espouses, that he cares about so much? Is he worried about that? Is he talking about the good things that Zohran Mamdani has already done in his time in office? No. None of those things that you could talk about, none of the wealth being stolen, none of the billions of dollars that Donald Trump has been able to pocket in his second term. None of those things, none of the, the adorning of the White House in fake gold. That doesn't bother you. The tearing down of the East Wing, that doesn't bother you. The desecration of the reflecting pool, that doesn't bother you. None of those things bother you as far as that's concerned. It's like the list is endless of things that you could bring up as far as being scared about, being worried about, being pissed off about. And the fact that he's on with Jesse Waters talking about, communist and socialist, where he couldn't define either fucking, category, couldn't define either political ideology whatsoever. If you forced him, if you put a gun to his head, couldn't tell you what either one of them meant or the distinction between the two of them, nonetheless.
Run against Mamdani.
I would love to run against. If I was going to run, it would be here. Can I win here? I have no idea.
No, absolutely fucking not. Please do. Please make that run. I'd say throw as many billions or millions as you could possibly afford to throw in there, and let's see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I don't know the demographics, whether they get enough votes. There's a lot of people who like me in New York City. I know that. I've done a lot of good in New York City when I wasn't thinking about.
And the problem is that you sign all of their paychecks. Okay. Anybody in New York City that says that they like you is typically because your name is on their fucking paycheck and they work for you. That's about the only reason somebody in New York City would give a shit about you.
Politics, whether it's the Barstool Fund, pizza places. So it wasn't for show.
Yeah. I mean, nothing says I'm qualified to run a city like, hey, I can judge a slice of pizza on a scale from 1 to 10. You know what I mean? Nothing says you're qualified for this position to talk about healthcare. You're talking about, what to do with veterans. You're talking about what to do with public transportation, all of these huge problems that we now face and things that are, really nuanced, and you need some definite education to be able to figure out. All of those things are, the pizza rating has led him up to that point. That's what's going to give him the edge.
A real job. I've done real things, unlike these clown politicians who have never had a job and never been in the real world for a day.
Right.
But the people voting for these people who just won are like these young, white, like Ivy League-ish, elite-ish.
And I love this part of the whole thing. This is maybe my favorite part of the whole thing. As Dave is trying to describe what he thinks is like the typical Zoran Mondani voter, right? And he's talking about this being like really young, white, blue-haired liberal type of person. Look at what they're showing on the screen. Look at who they're showing on the screen. You know what I mean? Does this look like, the young female white voting base that he's trying to describe right now?
Women, it's like, who are they? Like, they'll never vote for me. They'll never believe in common sense.
When you're unhappy, you want to make other people unhappy, and that's the key. Dave Portnoy has written a book.
Is that why you flattened the fucking tire of your current wife? So that you thought, she desperately needed a ride home because she was stranded, and that's how you kind of made you move? Is that why you did that?
No one can believe he wrote this book, but he did.
I did.
No, he didn't. No, that's the whole thing. Nobody does believe that he wrote that fucking book. Absolutely not. Nobody believes he wrote that book any more than they believe that Donald Trump wrote Out of the Deal. You dumb son of a bitch. And again, look no further than this, right? If you need evidence to suggest that Dave Portnoy sure as fuck didn't research his own life, didn't go back and try to find the clips and the moments, didn't edit, didn't publish, didn't write, didn't do anything necessary to publish that book, look no further than this clip of him doing the audio version of that book and trying to, again, pronounce words.
There were two things. I'm not a guilt, but Jamaica was true. That makes sense. What happened is just something doesn't make sense. There are definitely moments when I thought, what the fuck did I get myself into here? Kind of like reading this.
He can't even read. Everybody's like, yeah, he definitely wrote that book for sure. I'm sure he sat down and wrote that book. Absolutely. But again, I would have been remiss if I didn't take a little bit of time to call that out and how ridiculous that is. Just to think that he has what it takes to not only enter political office, but to enter political office in New York City and then run against Zoran right now is just wild. It's wild to show or to see what, just a ridiculous amount of money does for the psyche of somebody, what it does to the confidence of somebody and what they think they can actually do now because they have a couple bucks in their pocket. But all right, I digress as far as that's concerned. Like I said, I wish a motherfucker would. I hope he pours millions and millions of dollars into some sort of campaign where he gets his ass absolutely handed to him. But all right, speaking of getting asses handed to them, let's see if we can dive into this Benny Johnson clip. And again, we don't have to look at any of Benny Johnson. I'm not using this for any of Benny Johnson's commentary on this. It's because of Bill Maher. I'm not sure what his copyright restrictions are as far as this is concerned, but Benny Johnson used the clip on his show that I wanted to discuss anyway. So if anybody's going to get the copyright, might as well throw it back on Benny Johnson. But this is the moment. A lot of people, I'm sure you've seen this or heard it discussed when Bill Maher was pressing J.D. Vance on election denialism, right? On basically the fact that Republicans say they've either won the election or it was stolen, and presses on J.D. Vance. For some reason, he thinks J.D. Vance is going to be the person to change that for the Republican Party, to kind of change that cycle. Not something that J.D. Vance was willing to do because he went right into 2020 election denialism that all of us know was bullshit, is still bullshit, considering all the court cases, considering all the litigation, all of the things that we know associated with the 2020 election, the lawsuits, all of it. But J.D. Vance, now in the year of our Lord 2026, is now thinking that he's got to make up some ground. He's got to make up some ground with Donald Trump, right? He sees Marco Rubio kind of, not taking his place so much, but gaining in favorability with Donald Trump, right? A lot of people now discussing J.D. and Marco Rubio. I think Bill Maher actually discussed it with him on this show, mentioned, Marco and J.D. as being the, kind of the successors, the known successors, the probable successors of Donald Trump there. So I think J.D. Vance sees this kind of like this bit of competition between him and Marco Rubio. So I believe that this is J.D. Vance trying to gain favor again with Donald Trump. And you can actually see Bill Maher respond to this in real time where he says, well, you're going to go home and get a nice pat on the back by Donald Trump. Donald Trump obviously watching the show, and J.D. Vance goes out to espouse that the 2020 election was stolen. Obviously, that's going to please Donald Trump. So it seems to me like J.D. Vance knew what he was doing here. This was a calculated move by J.D. Vance to talk about the 2020 election. But let's call out a little bit of the utter hypocrisy and obvious bullshit from J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States. Again, this is just a quick clip. I think it's less than 2 minutes long. And again, I'm only using Benny Johnson. So if anybody gets a copyright strike, it's this dickhead. All right. So let's dive into this quick clip and then we'll call it out.
So the big one comes with, obviously, they talk about the stolen election. and this is the clip that's going the most viral, along with Bill Maher saying that he's in favor of voting for J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio. Now, I want to note that, like, Elon, continuing the cross-sectionality of the political
and
world.
again, this is kind of ironic. This is pretty ironic for him to be showing on the screen Elon Musk right now, considering what J.D. Vance is about to go on and lie about, right? So keep in mind Elon Musk when you hear what J.D. Vance is about to say on with Bill Maher.
Reformation of the political landscape right now. Elon Musk is shared Bill Maher's entire full opening monologue on YouTube here. So
play the clip.
That's beautiful. It's about how everybody should be appreciative for the United States of America. What an incredible timeline that we are living in. Here's the back and forth on the stolen election.
Shut up.
I don't want to put quotes around that because J.D. Vance takes a very unique position on what stolen election means and how he agrees with President Trump. He just doesn't agree in the tactics of stealing, the tactical theft of the election. It's very interesting conversation. I want to know what you think about it in the comment section. It's a point of disagreement, obviously.
Jesus Christ. Sorry, I didn't think he was going to talk and yap for that long. My apologies to subject you to that much Benny Johnson today where I didn't mean to do so.
It's rising quickly.
Just play the clip.
To the middle, at least on.
Here we go. All right, here we go. Fucking A. I didn't think he'd ever get to the clip, but let's see if I can get it at the beginning here. Let's see if I can get it at the beginning. Because this is, again, where Bill Maher is questioning J.D. Vance on the election denialism and the fact that the Republicans basically say they either won it by a landslide or it was a rigged and stolen election if they get their ass kicked here. So, again, here's the clip in question.
Based on that, where we concede elections, where it's not either one of those two options.
Okay, Bill. So this is where I'm probably going to lose you here. But here's
that happened about 8 minutes ago.
Look, I don't think that we should not concede elections, but I don't think that's what's going on. I think that if you go back to the president's core argument, he was making an argument about problems that existed in 2020. And here's the problem that I'm most focused on. The president,
we know his core argument. He brought the core argument to about 60 different fucking court cases, and he got his ass handed to him in all of those court cases. We know his core argument because we heard Rudy Giuliani go around the country and fought himself to death in pretty much every single one of the counties throughout the United States, okay? We saw Jenna Ellis. We saw fucking, what was Hugo Chavez? What the fuck's the lady's name? Sidney Powell. We know what he was espousing. We know what he was trying to get across. We heard all of the fake electors. We know about all that shit. January 6th, all of these things that came to, we know about all this. You know why? Because it's in the past. That's why we know about this. But J.D. Vance goes on here to try to obfuscate and really fucking throws himself under the bus here with what he tries to bring up. And listen to this. And I want you to just remember, Benny Johnson was talking about Elon Musk just before this clip.
talked a lot about this, and I think we share a perspective here, but set to the side the stuff that really gets you and your audience very angry about whether the count was legitimate in Georgia or Pennsylvania or any of these other states. Is it true that large technology companies, some of whom have financial interests that exist outside the United States of America, were they censoring information in the run-up to an election?
And so again, this is just the rewording by J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States, of the whole Hunter Biden laptop. Okay, that's what this is. That's the, Twitter hit it. They did everything they possibly could to keep this from the Republicans, keep this from the American people. He's just kind of rewording that, which is ironic and completely hypocritical when we look at, again, the amount of money that Elon Musk put into Donald Trump's 2024 campaign and the fact that he quite literally bought a fucking entire social media site. He spent how much was the purchase of X again? I'm losing it as far as what the exact purchase was, the purchase number as far as that's concerned, but purchased the entire site of Twitter so that he could affect the change of the outcome of the election, so that he could do Donald Trump's propaganda, so that he could again limit the reach of the liberals or the progressives or the left on Twitter, and he could bump up and kind of make sure that a lot of people saw all of the right-wing bullshit, right? So to say that there was technological technology companies and social media platforms involved in 2020. What he's talking about is the Hunter Biden laptop. That's exactly what he's talking about. He doesn't want to say it because he knows it's already been debunked, but he can't go on and talk about the count in Georgia. He can't go on and talk about all the other things that they lost in court cases to time and time again. So he's got to kind of reword the Hunter Biden laptop, not realizing that, again, that only brings up the whole thing about Elon Musk and how much he put into Donald Trump's campaign and the fact that he bought Twitter. But somebody in the chat, who give me in the chat, somebody knows, 40 bill. Was it 40? Somebody said 54 bill. Somebody in that, somewhere in that general area. I know it was a shitload of money. That's all I know.
And set to the side the stuff again, the Georgia stuff. No. But
that was litigated. Dominion, the Fox News paid us.
I'm trying to make the more middle ground argument here.
Yeah.
The biggest criticism.
The Hunter Biden laptop's typically seen as the more middle ground argument for why Republicans think the 2020 election was stolen.
I had of the 2020 election is that you had technology companies that were quite literally censoring negative information about the left and promoting negative information about the right. So in a fundamental sense, like if the First Amendment says that we have a free and open debate and then the American people judge based on that free and open debate, the sense in which I think the election in 2020 was rigged, I'm sorry, is that you had technology companies that were putting their thumb on the scale in a way that completely obliterated the real open exchange of ideas. Well, now, by the way, it didn't happen in 2024, but it happened in 2020, and it was a problem.
He says it didn't happen in 2024. Again, the most prominent example of what he's trying to talk about there, what he's trying to say allegedly didn't happen. I know it didn't happen in 2020, but absolutely did happen in 2024. He tries to stipulate that's when it certainly didn't happen, when Elon Musk spent millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars on Donald Trump's campaign and billions of dollars on fucking on Twitter, so that he could do exactly that. Buy a social media company to then, put on that platform what he wanted to put on that platform, to take off that platform what he wanted to take off that platform, and to promote only the things that he saw fit. Right? So it's quite literally what Elon Musk did in the 2024 election. But again, JD Vance just trying to reword and kind of rehash here, bring up the whole Hunter Biden laptop in that whole nonsense story that obviously was debunked quite some time ago. But, like I said, I wanted to call out that moment that a lot of people are discussing. There was some other clips as far as that was concerned. A lot of it dealing with Bill Maher licking the nuts of Donald Trump, licking the nuts of JD Vance, and really kind of like sucking him off, something fierce as far as that's concerned. So I'm not going to subject you guys to that. It's more important just to call out the propaganda of the bullshit of JD Vance. Bill Maher's really not that important. I can give a fuck less about that guy. But all right, let's see if we can dive on to this next. Speaking about, a guy that you don't give a shit about. Here's Tucker Carlson, and like I kind of told you guys at the beginning of the show, you guys are never going to believe, well, you're probably going to believe, but obviously it may shock you to hear and learn who Tucker Carlson sat down with. So he's back on his propaganda train. He's back on the Kremlin propaganda screen here, and he's sitting down with none other than Victor Bout. Okay, and some of you in the chat are probably like, well, who the fuck is Victor Bout? Well, let me just give you his nickname, right? So his nickname, he was also known as the Merchant of Death. And then if you'll remember back to, I believe it was 2022, if I'm not mistaken, where he was, given up as far as a prisoner exchanged with Brittany Griner. Remember, Brittany Griner was held in Russia, and we had to exchange Brittany Griner for Victor Bout, who, again, let's bring up just some of what Victor Bout has been responsible for, and then we'll go on to Tucker Carlson's, the way that he presents this. Okay, so this is again Victor Bout, and this is dubbed the Merchant of Death, obviously his nickname, as we just said, and he was convicted in a U.S. federal court in 2011 for terrorism-related crimes. His specific criminal charges and convictions include, and let's go over them, conspiring to sell weapons to a terrorist organization. He agreed to sell millions of dollars in heavy weaponry, including anti-aircraft missiles, to the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia. He also conspired to kill U.S. nationals and officers. He plotted to arm the FARC, which is the Revolutionary Forces of Colombia we just spoke about, with the explicit knowledge that these weapons would be used to attack and kill Americans in Colombia. Again, just going over some of the things we know about this guy. He was also conspiring to acquire and use anti-aircraft missiles, facilitated deals to provide surface-to-air missile systems, his material support to terrorists. He provided resources to a designated foreign terrorist organization. These convictions resulted in a 25-year federal prison sentence for this guy. And it says here, note, while Bout's 2011 federal conviction stems from a U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration sting operation in Bangkok, Thailand, he's also been internationally accused, though not formally prosecuted, for decades of illicit arms trafficking to warlords, dictators, and rebel factions across Africa, the Middle East, and Afghanistan. Okay, so sound like a nice guy, sound like somebody that you'd want to just sit down and have like him kind of espouse his opinions and see what he's got to say about the matter. And you can see the picture of this fucking degenerate right above my head. Well, let's just go on here and let's just take a quick gander. We'll just take a quick gander, ladies and gentlemen, how Tucker Carlson presents this. Okay, so we'll just scroll down here, put this on the screen here. We're just going to scroll down to the description portion of this video. So again, take into account everything that we just knew and learned about Victor Bout, right? Goes on. Tucker Carlson claims this is Victor Bout is a Russian entrepreneur and public figure. Listen to the fucking whitewashing. This is unreal, right? Victor Bout is a Russian entrepreneur and public figure. He was born January 13th, 1967, yada, 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 in Tajikistan. He was then part of the USSR. After serving in the Soviet Army, he trained as a military interpreter, my apologies, specializing in Portuguese. He worked in a field in Mozambique in southern Africa since 1992. He has been engaged in business activities related to the intercontinental air transportation. In 2008, he was arrested and extradited to the United States. He was held until 2022. With the assistance of Russian diplomatic mission, he was returned to his homeland. He later became involved in public service and was elected as deputy of the Legislative Assembly of the Ulyanovsk region. He is married and has a daughter. Now, tell me that doesn't sound like the complete whitewashing of this guy's fucking history, right? Just utter insanity from Tucker Carlson to not, say that he's an internationally known arms trafficker, knew that he was trying to attempt to kill U.S. nationals, U.S. citizens, all of these things. He's just kind of sitting down for a lovely la-da-da chat with this asshole. And this is titled, Merchant of Death Warns Russia is Preparing for a Devastating Attack on Western Europe. And again, we don't have to get into too much of this. First, for you to obviously see the willingness for Tucker Carlson to continue carrying water for Kremlin propaganda. But then obviously how similar this was to, what did we look at the other day? I think it was a Rick Sanchez video from RT where he was talking about it's not Russia fighting Ukraine, it's Russia fighting the entirety of the planet, and all of these countries are now sending the best of their military forces and everything else, when obviously we know differently. Well, he's kind of espousing the same shit here in Victor Bout. But again, this is Tucker Carlson sitting down with the Merchant of Death, basically asking his opinion on what's going on with the war in Ukraine. And then this is Tucker Carlson, again, fear-mongering about the possibility of this war, or the probability, as Tucker Carlson would say, of this war spreading into greater Europe, right? So again, to instill fear in people, into, to want to end this sooner so that we don't see that happening. Again, not what's playing out on the battlefield. My grandkids will be fucking dead and buried before the Russian military would even make it to Kyiv, never mind the rest of Europe at this point in time. But let's see here what we can call out as far as this is concerned. Again, just a couple minutes of this Tucker Carlson bullshit. May even just go through like the intro that they go through. It should, like I said, give you enough to see the Kremlin propaganda coming out of this. So real quick, if you could hit that like button, I really do appreciate you guys. My name is Brian. This is Blunt Politics. And again, like I said, the algorithm really doesn't care for much of the Ukraine and Russia coverage, really doesn't care for much of the Israel, Gaza, Lebanon coverage. So if you guys could help boost this live stream, help boost this channel in the old algorithm, that would be greatly, greatly appreciated. There's a Venmo up in the corner if you want to contribute $1 or $2 to the channel. You can sign up for a YouTube membership just underneath me. You can also gift those YouTube memberships out to fantastic people in the chat, and you can sign up for a Patreon at the Patreon at patreon.com/BostonBrian, and we got 3 great tiers on there. You can also help help out this channel by going over to bostonbrian.com, checking out the Blunt Politics merch site. Again, all of the fantastic designs we have on there go a long way at helping this community survive. So much appreciated to you guys. Let's see what Tucker Carlson's bullshit's got here.
Mr. Bout, thank you very much for doing this. Americans have been distracted. I think I've certainly been distracted by what's happening in Iran. but there has been a very significant escalation in the conflict between Russia and Ukraine.
Just a heads up, I'm going to speed it up just a touch again, just in case there's any, copyright issues whatsoever. Like I said, we're not going to take a long look at this, so I shouldn't be risking it too much. But I am going to speed it up just a touch to add that little layer of security. So,
and really, Russia and the West. Can you describe how that conflict has changed recently?
Well, there is several points. Let's start from the situation that this conflict is not conflict between Ukraine and Russia. This conflict basically between Russia and
same exact shit that we heard from Rick Sanchez, right? Am I getting that name right? For some reason, I feel like I'm getting that name wrong. The guy that we talked about on RT the other day, saying the same thing, same exact thing. That Russia's doing a lot better than they should be because they're not just fighting Ukraine; they're fighting all of the armies from all of the forces from all over the planet, which again is just these allies not even stepping up to the margin, not even stepping up to the degree where they should be stepping up and sending over equipment, ammunition. All of these things that they should be putting up, in assistance to the Ukrainian military. But all of that taking place, he's not. What the question was asked: how has the war changed? Well, the war has changed now because it's been brought right to the fucking, right to the Russians' doorstep. Okay, it's being fought more and more inside of Russian territory. It seems like the Russian air defenses are less and less capable of shooting down the increased amount of Ukrainian drones. The effectiveness of these Ukrainian drones that they're able to put up in the air consistently on a nightly basis. Obviously, the closing off of Crimea is another huge shift that we've seen, and the attacks on the land bridge down there. Obviously, the attacks on the oil refineries, the fuel crisis that we've seen all throughout Russia. In the occupied territories, in Donbass, in Crimea. That's how the war has changed, but that's not what he's going to say. Now he's going to try to butter all of the Tucker Carlson viewers up by saying, hey, look, I know we're fucking sucking right now as far as the military is concerned on the Russian side, but you got to understand, we're fighting the whole world right now. We're not just fighting Ukraine. We're fighting the world. So they have to try to get you to believe that first, and then you'll kind of be like, well, I guess we can give them, we'll give them a pass on how long it's taken to complete this 3-day war, this 3-day operation that was supposed to land them in their armored column in Kyiv in less than 72 hours. Now look where we are.
Coalition of willing. It's NATO, United States, plus other vassals, I would say, with the Western world, who is just blindly complies. So they, from get-go, supply to Ukraine all kind of the armaments. Initially, it was javelins and lambs, anti-tank and aircraft missiles, then it went to the Patriots, then it went to the tanks, Abrams, Leopard.
And again, what he's bringing up right now is every single one of Russia's red lines. Remember how all of these things were red lines, whether it was the Abrams or the F-16s or the Patriots or whatever it may be, the javelins, right? These were a red line that the Kremlin and Vladimir Putin said, well, if the West does this, if the United States or Britain or, France or Germany steps up and sends these weapons platforms, then, oh boy, we're gonna unleash our nuclear arsenal. We're going to unleash our kind of, tactical nuclear arsenal, right? None of those things happened. Bluff after bluff after bluff has been called, but, he's going to consistently point these out as far as being like things that, again, Ukraine's allies of Ukraine have been consistently sending where they should be doing a whole hell of a lot more.
Then it went to the F-16. And every time Ukrainians and their handlers, especially in London, especially MM6, thinking this will be a game changer, doesn't work. Ukraine really losing grounds. Maybe as not as
again, how you can say it hasn't worked is insane to me. And again, I know his whole identity, his whole fucking purpose in this interview is to butter up the positioning, the situation for the Russian military, and to make it seem like things are worse off for Ukraine, and to make it seem like the West is this big fucking devil that started this whole thing. I understand that's what he's trying to do here. But to suggest that none of those things have gone on to affect this war now 5 years on into a 3-day operation is ridiculous, okay? To be fighting for Konstantinivka right now, to be losing thousands and thousands of troops every single day, to be fighting where they're fighting, how hard they have to fight to gain the territory that they're even gaining in some instances is crazy to think that it's had no effect, no impact whatsoever. And again, maybe it's just a minimal impact, maybe it's just a psychological impact, but clearly something has gone right for the Ukrainians in this position, in this war, to be able to get to this position, to be able to hold off, to be able to fend off the Russian military, to have them in this geographical position, still fighting for their fucking life at this long into the war. So clearly something has gone right. Not all of those things have gone on to be the game changes that we thought they were. Rightfully so. I'll put my hand up on that. But to think that like none of it has gone to substantiate or to corroborate or to benefit the Ukrainian military in their fight, considering what we're seeing right now, is asinine.
As we want, but frontline progressing. Every week there is several, villages, small towns are being liberated by
No,
Russia.
there's not. No, that's what you're told. That's what you're told, again, by these fucking flag waving ceremonies where, 1 or 2 Russian soldiers will break through the Ukrainian lines after about 23 have already been shot dead trying to do the same thing. And they're followed by a drone into the middle of Konstantinivka or some other settlement. And then they take a picture and then they say, oh, look, the entire Russian military has made it to this point. Meanwhile, before that fucking footage even makes it back to the Kremlin, they've been shot dead in wherever position they were. The Ukrainians now hold possession of that flag, and the military, the Russian military, is still only as far as they had originally gotten. Okay, so that leads to bad decisions being made by the Russian commanders. That leads to them thinking they hold more ground than they actually do, which leads to, again, wrong decisions being made. Again, things not going the way that they thought they were going to go based upon what territory they thought they held, what ground they thought they held, but they really don't. We've heard time and time again from Russian mill bloggers talking about how this is a huge problem that they face. But again, this is the propaganda coming from this interview here.
An army. Of course, since last year, decision was to remove all the military production from Ukraine to the Europe, which was done efficiently.
And again, utter bullshit, just based off of my own fucking sites, what I've seen in firsthand in Ukraine. Like the entirety of their mission when I was in Ukraine and I had the opportunity to tour their drone facilities, their unmanned robotic ground drone facilities, a ton of different facilities that I was very honored and privileged to be able to meet some fantastic and brilliant individuals to explain what their goals were, what they intend to do, where they intend to be in 6 months, 10 months if this war was still going on. And now to see, like we've shown you guys on this show, the robotic ground drones that I had the opportunity to see being built firsthand, now being used in the field to again exfil or infill soldiers from a different site is unbelievable. The timing in which, in how short a period of time it took for them to go into, from production and thought into actual use in the field, in the Ukrainian military noticing how helpful and beneficial they could be. So firsthand, the goal that they had was to basically make themselves as independent as humanly possible as far as needing resources and components for their drones, for their machinery coming from other parts of the world, mainly China. They were trying to cut off the fact that they needed, some Chinese parts or chips to run a lot of these drones. They were trying to now manufacture them in Ukraine. We saw a lot of the fiber optic drone production that was built up in Ukraine, so they didn't have to, again, utilize outside sources for that. Everything was done in-house, by them, for them, with them, and it made it easier. It made the timing in which they could get these processes out, get these products out a lot quicker. They weren't waiting on shipments from China. They weren't waiting on shipments from other places. Now, are there factories? Are there different warehouses? Are there different companies all throughout Europe and other places throughout the world that are now manufacturing different components and things that Ukraine still needs to utilize? Absolutely. But has Ukraine moved the entirety of their drone production and all of their production in general outside of Ukraine because of the Russian attacks? That's not something that I've seen. Right? I'm sure in some instances further east and closer to where the Russians are, they've had to move some establishments, they've had to move some factories, they've had to move some production plants and such. But to think that they're under such a threat where they've had to move the entirety of their missile and drone productions, unmanned ground vehicle production outside of Ukraine and into greater Europe is just utter horseshit. Okay, again.
More than months ago, Russian Ministry of Defense published a list of all these factories who, in fact, in Europe producing armaments for the Ukrainian army. So
yes, again, that's a lot different that the allies are still helping produce missiles, drones, anti-aircraft missiles, whatever it may be, in different facilities inside of Europe. That's a lot different than saying that Ukraine's not doing or manufacturing anything in Ukraine and that they had to move everything outside of Europe. Again, obviously, they're reliant upon allies for a lot of different pieces of equipment, a lot of different munitions. That's something that is widely known. So I'm not sure what he's trying to get across here, but just another minute or two of this bullshit, and then we'll go on a little bit of the new reporting from and this is again, I probably should have played this before we started this, but this is good of Kate from How to Kyiv to post as well, because this is what Tucker Carlson has previously said about the man that he's now interviewing like he's his best bud, right? Like he's his best friend. This is a quote from Tucker Carlson previously from December 8th, 2022, when the Brittany Griner prisoner swap was taking place. He said, quote, in exchange for Griner, administration handed over an arms dealer called Victor Bout. Bout is indisputably a serious criminal. He sold weapons to terror groups that killed Americans. Right. So obviously Tucker Carlson knows exactly who he's talking to, knows exactly what he's been responsible for, and knows exactly what he's capable of. But again, he's trying to do as best Russian propaganda, as best Kremlin propaganda as he possibly can to make it seem like this guy is somehow legitimate, like he has no bias, like he has, no horse in the race, and he's just kind of calling things as he sees it. And it's much of the same bullshit Russian propaganda as we've heard from RT and people before.
They are the logistics, their industries are now in Europe. So Europe is not natural part, and we hear from their leadership, they're more openly declaring that they're in full support of the Ukraine, and they want this war against Russia till the last Ukrainians. So this is a very much, warmongering approach we're going to lead. So they move this production there, and about to.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand. If he said warmongering approach, that's going to be almost too much for me. I think we'll end on that bit of hypocrisy there of again, Victor Bout on the Russian side saying that there's warmongers in Ukraine when it was the Russians that perpetrated this war, the Russians that continue to persist with this war, and the Russians that have the ability to drop all of their fucking weaponry, drop all of their missiles, drop all of their drones, drop all of their fucking APCs, or even don't even have to drop the APCs. How about you just drop the weapons, you get the fucking soldiers in the APCs, and you shuttle them back to the fucking Russian border, and then we could end all of this very quickly. But again, that's not something they or Vladimir Putin or the Kremlin wants to see happen. So I just had to call that out. I found that fucking utterly disgusting. I'm not surprised at the Russian propaganda, the Kremlin propaganda that Tucker Carlson is espousing. Obviously, we saw and called out his trip to Moscow and how impressed he was with grocery stores and escalators and shopping carts and shit. Russian bread was like the most amazing thing he's ever seen. Trying to make it seem like we don't have anything like that in the United States type of thing. But yeah, that's right in line with what we know Tucker Carlson is capable of. But he seems to be back on that Kremlin propaganda train. And it's very, very funny, right? It's very, very funny how this is now coinciding with the recent successes we've seen from the Ukrainian military. Now Tucker Carlson, who is consistently talking more about Iran and Israel, right? Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens, or Benjamin Netanyahu, all of those people he's made consistent videos on for quite some time now. Haven't heard much on the Russian-Ukraine front, really haven't as far as Tucker Carlson is concerned. But all of a sudden, now that we've seen the huge uptick in the fuel crisis, right? We've seen the huge uptick in Ukrainian drones striking oil facilities, ports, refineries, everything. We've now seen the basic cutting off of Crimea, whether it be by the land bridge or the Kerch bridge. We've now seen the fight being brought to the doorstep of places like St. Petersburg, Moscow, the Moscow oil refinery being hit. Now, all of a sudden, when we're starting to see this dramatic and drastic shift in the war on behalf and with the momentum on the Ukrainian side, this is when, again, maybe Tucker Carlson got a little note, got a little memo, got a little email with a .ru on it, coming straight from the Kremlin and said, hey, now's the time that we need to kind of, bump up our propaganda, make it seem like we're not losing this war. How about you interview Victor Bout type of shit? So it's funny how that coincides with, again, the recent successes we've seen here by the Ukrainian military. But all right, onwards and upwards here. Speaking about the successes of the Ukrainian military, I ran across this video of, I don't know, either another brave individual in Russia or another really stupid individual in Russia. Because this is another one that is detailing the gasoline shortages in Russia. She's talking about some 300 kilometers away from Moscow in a rural town. And this lady's name is Mary Nikolia. Right. And this is from one day ago, got 20,000 views. And I just wanted to detail that even the Russians are continuously making content about this. We showed you the other day I forget the woman's name at this point, but she was detailing the different prices and obviously the long fuel lines. And I said rightfully that she was kind of taking her life into her own hands by reporting this, something that I think this young lady is doing as well. But just a couple of minutes of this, just to kind of show you how this is still progressing, still ongoing, and that the Russians are more and more being thrust into this fuel crisis and having to deal with that. And then after this, we got a quick clip here from Preston Stewart, also detailing some of the recent successes by the Ukrainian military on the land bridge, and then obviously as it pertains to the fuel shortages as well. So just a couple minutes of this real quick. We'll dive onto that Preston Stewart video, and there's a bunch that we have to get into. There's a Sun video that we can talk about as well. But like I said, this is titled "Gasoline Shortage in Russia, 300 kilometers from Moscow." So let's see what this is talking about.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and today I want to show you this little town around. It is called Dankov, and it is located in the Lipetsk region of Russia. And also in this video we are going to explore the current prices of gasoline here. So if you're interested, please guys stay with me and let's go. They had a road from the Lipetsk region to the Tula city, and at some gasoline stations the situation was really so bad that many people were apprehensive, and at some
So again, I don't know. I don't understand what they think is going to happen to them, if they think they're going to stay safe, if there's going to be no retribution on people that are promoting this on social media, especially on Western social media platforms like YouTube and such. Like, that's really a Kremlin no-no as far as that's concerned. But you can see here, she's detailing the fuel lines. Let me get out of the way, and you can see kind of the the extent of the line that she's detailing here and the prices. Maybe there's somebody in the chat that could give me kind of a clear kind of comparison on what these prices are, because it really doesn't seem to add up much to me. I know they charge per liter, right? They charge per liter, which is what? There's roughly 3, maybe close to 4 liters per gallon into a gallon. So even if you times these prices by, let's say, 4, I'm not sure, but you have to take into account how much of a fuel depot Russia is in its entirety. So when you see prices like this, it may not kind of right off the bat register as being high for you guys, considering what we're paying here in the United States. But $3, $4 a gallon in comparison, if we're doing the kind of the comparison here between what the Russians are paying in gas and what we're paying for gas, you have to understand it's like really high prices in Texas or Oklahoma, where they're really close to a lot of these oil fields, a lot of these gas refineries and shit like that should make it so that the travel distance is cut down, the amount that these companies are paying to transport that fuel is cut down, so that the price of that fuel should be kept relatively low, much like we've seen throughout the process here with the closure of the Strait of Hormuz down in a lot of these different states that are have a lot of these have a lot of oil and shit like that. So if anybody could give me the comparison here, let me see, because she kind of details the price here.
And even aggressive. And the price of the gasoline right now you can see on your screen. So 92 gasoline is 63 rubles per 1 liter.
So 80 cents, that just said. So basically 80 cents if we're converting that to US dollars. So if you take 80 cents, right, even round it up to $1, times that by 4, so $4 a gallon would be the equivalent here. But you got to understand, Russia is just a big fucking gas station, right? That's all it is. So for them to be paying that much in prices, sorry, Bill Maher decided to want to talk in the background. But for them to be paying these type of prices in Russia is a big deal, right? So it's something that they are not typically used to. Not only that, but the long lines, as she says here. And I'll see if I can find that other video in the background of that other woman, because I think she put out another video as well.
The 95 is 68 rubles per 1 liter, and diesel is 75 rubles per 1 liter. And also, as you see, I don't know what fuel is it, but it's not available right now. And this is Rosneft gasoline station, one of the biggest in Russia. Many people are really worried about such situation, because they even don't let you get gasoline in a gallon, so only directly to the tank of your car.
So this is the woman that I was showing before, this Valeria Sheffield. So she was the one that was detailing the long lines before. Well, she's apparently back with another video, gasoline anxiety and fuel theft, the news from Russia, summer 2026. So again, just kind of detailing the widespread nature of this, how many people throughout the different regions of Russia are not only feeling the effects, but reporting on this outright, which is, again, taking their life into their own hands, not something that the Kremlin takes kindly to. People showing the downfall, showing the inefficiencies of the, of the government there in Russia, and obviously the impacts on the Russian fuel economy, on the Russian fuel crisis because of the Ukrainian drone strikes here. So here's another one, and I'll just go back. I'll show you how much reporting she's done on this too. Let me see if I can just go to her page real quick and show you all of her videos. So take a look at this. So she's done, let's see here when it started. So walking the dog, Victory Day, summer season, Russian store. So we see the first one building up to right here, fuel crisis. So 12 days ago, what's happening in Russia, gasoline crisis, gasoline limits and long queues. That's the one that we watched. Update, fuel shortages in Moscow, petrol crisis, no petrol. And then again, here's our latest one. But this is the other one that we were just looking at real quick.
Is the fuel the same?
So again, this tank here, or excuse me, this station here only has one type of fuel available. You can see the 92 and both versions there of 95 are out. Don't even have a price there because they're not available. A lot of these Russians now being told they can't get gas on certain days, or they need some sort of QR code to get gas, or they're limited to a certain amount of liters per time that they can fill up. You can't fill up tanks. You can't fill up like carryaways. You have to put it directly into your gas tank there. Again, just showing you how quickly and you know how strict they're being on the crackdown there with their fuel, and just kind of how far this has spread. I know we showed on the last show in Chita, which is about 5,000 kilometers from Ukraine, which is incredible to see that they're feeling the effects there. I mean, you couldn't even see it basically on the map on what I was trying to show. It's so far away from Ukraine. But just another minute of this, and we'll go on to Preston Stewart, giving us a little bit more updates on some of the effective Ukrainian strikes on the Russian highway, and then we'll see if we can detail some of the the mitigatory tactics that the Russians are trying to use to try to stop some of these attacks. And it doesn't look like any of them are working. So again, just another minute of this.
And it is really a problem, guys. Let's count the cars. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So yeah, a big queue from this side and also from the different one. You may say that it's not a very big queue, but I can tell you guys that in Russia, we never had such queues ever. Like, honestly, even when we also had some kind of a crisis around like a year ago, we didn't have such queues. I know you guys are interested about...
So again, she's talking about how this is not something that they're used to, okay? They've never experienced queues like this, even when they've had crises before, even when they've had, disasters before. This is not something that they're used to seeing. Again, showing you how effective the Ukrainians continue to be with their fight. And then this should give you a little bit more reason to be able, ready, and willing to believe that this Ukrainian fight that they have, this Ukrainian tactic, this Ukrainian action down there against Crimea and against, Greater Russia is being incredibly effective as well. So here's Preston Stewart just detailing more of the Russian fuel shortages and as their defensive fail. There was also some new strikes inside of Moscow that I can see if I could detail. And just before I show this real quick, let me throw this on the screen as well. Let me bring this over. Oh, my apologies. Let me see if I can make this smaller on the screen, bring this over to this screen for you guys. And then, because this is Maxim Kalishnikov, right? Russian military blogger, somebody that we've been kind of looking at to try to detail the willingness of these people and how they're willing to call out the damages being done, being, kind of faced by the Russian military right now. So I just want to see if I could read this one thing. I believe it was this one right here, where it says, as you can see, Elnitsky doesn't even consider defeating the enemy's highest command structures and leadership, nor the areas where its elite population. He suggests targeting the metallurgy industry in Kryvyi Rih, but not Bankova, the communications and broadcasting centers. He suggests targeting the military industrial complexes, assembly plants, but not the national bank or the financial system, and not a word about the sealing all of Kyiv's Black Sea ports with a single barrier without wasting a huge number of missiles and drones on on destroying just Yuzhny port near Odessa, not a word about defeating the SBU and the GUR. In other words, they understood nothing and learned nothing. Well, the escalation will be appropriate if it happens at all. After all, without an air force capable of suppressing air defenses, and he's talking about the Russian, inability to stop the Ukrainian drones, and covering bridges and railway junctions and guided bombs, missiles, and drones alone, the task is impossible. The Air Force's combat capability has still not been restored after 1,600 days of war. So again, going on to show and talk about how he's not really happy with not only the plans that are being spoken about, but what's not being spoken about as well. And then he continues to talk about different problems they're facing on the front lines as well. He says they're caught between the threat of government collapse plus the fuel crisis and growing budget deficit, and they need to impose martial law in Russia. The current bureaucracy and the elite are completely unprepared for it, but without a state of emergency or martial law, the crisis cannot be dealt with. I'll explain this in more detail in the Roy TV program, yada, 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 his little spot that he's got there. But, before we dive into President Stewart video, just to kind of show you, again, how deep this goes and how much they're recognizing this, even on the Russian side, that this is a big fucking problem that they don't really seem to have the ability to stop. Right. So again, here, let's go into Preston's video and then we'll get you guys out of here for the day. Much appreciated for sticking with me. Thank you so much to all the Barnacles to stick around to the end of the show. Please hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Again, Venmo up in the corner. We are an independent station here. We don't show any ads. We don't play any commercials during the show. We have no corporate sponsors. We don't charge for Substack. Nothing hidden behind a paywall as far as content. All of the contributions that come into this channel are all because of this community that we've built here. Again, whether via Venmo, Super Chat, Patreon, all of the different ways that you can support this channel, getting our fantastic merch. I really do appreciate the way that you've, really been able to support this community. It's a real big kick in the ass. It's a real big fire to keep you guys going, to keep me going every single day and continue to do this. All right, let's dive into Preston's video. Just a little bit about the ongoing fuel shortages and how effective the Ukrainians continue to be here.
So Russians are now acknowledging that they do not have enough air defense systems to cover the gaps created by Ukraine. In other words, we should expect more successful Ukrainian strikes on more high-value targets more often. And for a military in a nation at war like Russia, this is the type of thing that can quickly spiral out of control. And we might already be seeing the early signs of that, as fuel restrictions have now impacted 89 different regions across Russia. In fact, there was a Ukrainian strike shown here on the screen on the Slovyansky oil refinery 2 days ago that I think is a perfect example of what's happening right now in the war. Russia's inability to protect key infrastructure that has already been targeted, and the ensuing fuel crisis steadily spreading across the country. Some additional details on this refinery strike. The Unmanned Systems Forces of Ukraine said that this was 300 kilometers from Ukraine's border. It has an annual capacity of approximately 5.2 million tons and provides fuel and lubricants to the Russian armed forces. Some additional data here is that specific refinery accounts for around 9% of oil refining in Russia's southern federal district and is one of the country's major exporters of petroleum products through Black Sea ports. And we should note, and this is important, that exact refinery was already hit, or at least targeted by Ukraine on April 27th.
And like I said, there's so many videos, there's so many reports coming in from not only Ukrainian oil refinery strikes, not only strikes down inside of Crimea, but also on the land bridge. There was also more air defenses taken out near the Kerch bridge. There was also strikes in and around Moscow. So again, it's impossible to try to cover it all. But again, it seems to be the vast majority of it is good news for the Ukrainians. Obviously, we're continuing to keep our eye in and around Konstantinivka and the fortress belt around there, staying based in reality with the, what's going on the ground. But, if you take all the things that are being reported and you kind of compile them, it's a lot of good momentum. It's a lot of good news for the Ukrainians and things that are not looking so good, not looking so hot for the Russian side. So let me see. He can continue here telling us a little bit more of the successful strikes on the last, 24, 48 hours.
And May 19th of 2024. It's a known target. And even if it hadn't already been hit, it's a refinery in Russia. Everyone around the world knows what's happening right now, especially inside of Russia. For them to not have the ability to protect key infrastructure in the middle of a worsening fuel crisis shows exactly the current state of Russian air defense. In fact, Russian blogger or military correspondent 2 Majors talked about this, where he said, quote, "The perimeter of the plant is huge, and there can be no simple solution for its protection. The enemy attacks with multiple drones simultaneously coming from different sides, which in fact obliges us to organize circular defense. If we take the extensive path of organizing..."
There was also this. Let me see if I can throw this on your screen real quick. think there was this as well coming from earlier today. This is Churchill MG posting shortly after missile alert explosions were recorded near Moscow. Throw this on your screen again, just detailing how widespread this is. And it's not just one area that the Ukrainians are having success in. We're talking about all over the place in different areas, going after different targets all over the place. So here's this video.
Ебать! У нас дом трясется, блядь.
Again, I don't know what specific area and geographical spot that is in and around Moscow, but there was definitely some recent strikes. This is footage. Looks like it belongs to the trench line. Let's see if there was other reports on that one. This was 2 hours ago. The first Center of Ukraine Unmanned Systems Force has disclosed details of Operation Polyphemus of Bryansk region. I think that's not to do with that. Let's see if this was one. Nope, that's the other one. About 2 hours ago, Ukraine attacked Moscow with 3 to 4 Flamingo long Neptune cruise missiles. All missiles appear to have been shot down with the warhead, and one of them intercepted missiles falling in an open area in the Moscow region, causing structural damage. And again, to believe that all of them were shot down, I'm not going to believe it. But let's see if there was anything from Kate from Kharkiv, where she can detail some of these strikes. She's typically all over these things. Let's see here. This was 1 killed and 3 injured in a Russian drone attack in Kherson. So that's strikes coming from Russia into Ukraine. Let's see if there was anything else about those strikes. That's in Zaporizhia. This is newly released video shows 2 Ukrainian FP5 Flamingo missiles striking Russian Titan Barikady strategic military plant in Volgograd on June 27th. We detailed that strike on this show as well. Just want to see if there was anything else coming in from that strike in and around Moscow. Fire rages for a second day on the Slavyansk on Kuban oil refinery after the Ukrainian attack, which is the one that Preston was just speaking about. So we'll see if there's anything to come in after that. But let's go back to the Preston Stewart video real quick. We'll see what else we can get into here.
Defense, it would take thousands of people on constant duty. He says, given that there are an infinite number of important objects in the country, this is hardly possible at all. But it's already getting on our nerves to regularly watch the footage of the burning refinery, often the same one. So what he's saying is thousands of people needed for each key location. And as he points out, there is an infinite number of important objects, so it is hardly possible at all. And he's not even the only one we're going to get into today, talking about how Russia does not have the ability to protect everything from Ukrainian drones all at once. That's a problem. Like, this genuinely could spiral for Russia very quickly. And it's worth noting that these are not surprise attacks, right? These are areas that Russia knows is being targeted. In this case, already hit before. And we've seen this time and time again, where a refinery gets hit and the next day it gets hit again. Good luck explaining with any straight face why Russia is not moving air defense assets or the necessary defense assets in to protect that. They know it's a target. It gets hit, verifies that it's a target. Some damage has been done. They still do nothing. It gets hit again, taking it further out of commission. In fact, a great example of this right now, I think, is the Flamingo strikes. It's been happening, the migration of the FP5 Flamingos in recent days. This is the Ukrainian domestically designed and manufactured cruise missile. And we have seen it just recently strike a plant producing equipment for Russian missiles and missile launchers. So a defense production facility inside of Russia hit by Ukraine's domestically manufactured cruise.
And again, just showing you the difference in targets they're going after too, the wide variety of targets. This isn't, again, located. This isn't specified to one, area of the front. This isn't specific to one target group whatsoever. I'm just going to go again here. I'm skip just a touch into the video where he's kind of detailing some of these more recent strikes, showing you the footage in the background as well.
Because those are expensive and they're falling by the day. Just today, Ukraine put out additional footage saying that between June 27th and 29th, they carried out additional strikes in Crimea that destroyed a Russian Pantsir air defense system, ST-68 radar, and a Podlet radar. These are not inexpensive. These are not easily replaceable. These should not be falling as fast as they are. If this was the United States and we were losing 3 air defense systems in one location a day, or one a month, as we're seeing play out so far this month, or one per day this month, that's an insane loss rate for a valuable asset like air defense.
Yeah, and completely unsustainable on the Russian side. And we've seen, them try to use different, like I said, mitigatory tactics in some of these different instances. One of them I saw was like a fake Pantsir system, which was just basically a bunch of fucking cardboard, and it had, what looked to be the radar spinning up top. But other than that, you could see up close, it was just, it was like the dummy tanks that the United States used in World War II type of thing. But there's also the video that we showed, and I thought it was on this one. It might be on, let me see if I'll hop out of this for a second, because I know there was a professor update. There was a Denis Davidov update. Like I said, there was a shitload of these different pieces of video, pieces of news coming out from the Ukraine fight here. But there was also one that detailed a little bit of the tactics that Russia was trying to use to try to, let me see if I can throw this on. Was it this one? Was it this one? Because there's so much that I had brought up this morning. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Because it had the video that we went over a couple days ago of the, let me see, was it this one that I went over? Put this on.
Vladimir Putin has never let the truth get in the way of a good propagandist.
Let me just go through this real quick, see if it was this video that I was watching. No, I don't think so. I don't think it was this one. Well, anyway, it was a video of the Russians that we looked at that had a what looked to be a security vehicle behind it. Basically, had a an air defense weapon, a machine gun mounted on the back of a vehicle on a pickup truck, and that was basically one way the Russians are trying to mitigate or shoot down these drones that are targeting these resupply vehicles. Another was disguise. So we saw a video where the Russians dressed up a fuel supply vehicle basically as like a farm vehicle. They basically just covered the fuel tank in a bunch of wood, try to make it seem like it was a civilian vehicle. That's another tactic. Obviously, they're trying to bring in some drone teams as well, anti-drone teams as well. And then the other one is basically just shutting off traffic. Right. So that seems to be just a few of the ways that Russia is apparently trying to mitigate some of the damages they're seeing in and around these areas, but it's not having any impact. We saw the video that we looked at, the security vehicle basically just screwed. You know what I mean? They jumped off the back of that vehicle as soon as the drone got anywhere near the resupply vehicle. The resupply vehicle was obviously struck. Let me see. There was a couple of these videos that I want to see. I know there was a Denis Davidoff one as well. See if I can find that one for you guys. Because like I said, there was a ton of this to go over, a ton of footage coming out of this from not only the strikes, but also the different oil refineries that are going kaboom, as Denis Davidoff would like to say. Let me see if it was this one.
This area very seriously. Maybe Russians sent absolutely.
Pause that one. Let me see if I can find that clip that we're talking about. No, it wasn't that one. God damn it. It was in one of these goddamn clips. The first one where the truck was hit. I'm sure you guys have probably seen the video too, where the truck was hit, where the Russian was running across the street after it was hit. Thought it was in this video, but maybe I'm mistaken. All right, we go back. I'm going to continue searching. We'll continue searching. I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it right, I promise. I'll get it right, I promise. So it wasn't that one, so that means it must have been... Not that one, not this one, not that one. Was it this one? Yeah, let's take a look at this one. Must have been this sun video that I was taking a look at. So we'll pop this one on real quick.
Putin is
panicked. Again, we don't have to go through this. I would recommend you guys go through this whole video. It's a 32-minute video from the Sun, Battle Plans Exposed, and they do a pretty good job of recounting what's been taking place. But let me just see if we can see this this strike that's been making its way around. Yeah, I think it was this one right here. This is the video that I was talking about right here earlier, the one that we showed a couple days ago. You can see this security vehicle behind the resupply vehicle. So that's kind of one way that they're trying to, tag along with these resupply vehicles to try to shoot the drones down before they're obviously destroyed. Let me see if there was another one. Oh, we could go over this clip as well. There's so much. Like I said, there's so much to get into. There's this clip that's detailing the use of drones as well. So you can see this coming from the battlefield, coming from the front. You got 3 different Russian soldiers trying to attack one Ukrainian soldier here. And you can see because the drone in the sky is obviously relaying information to the soldier on the ground. He knows exactly where these Russians are. He utilizes a frag grenade, takes out 2 of them, actually knows exactly where the 3rd one is as well, just misses him as far as a grenade is concerned and runs him off. So we could just play this real quick and see if I can find that other one in the background of the, that resupply vehicle getting struck as well. Let me throw this on the screen. We'll go over this real quick.
And finally, it's not all remote drone strikes and deep battles turning the balance of the war. It's direct guttural fighting like this that is happening on the front lines as well. This incredible infantry footage was filmed near Zakatini on the Sloviansk axis. A lone Ukrainian paratrooper from the 81st Brigade was holding a position when a Russian reconnaissance squad approached. The drone footage tracks 3 Russian soldiers moving right up to his defensive line. Clearly, the drone operators were communicating with him to tell him that they were coming in. Instead of giving away his position early, the paratrooper waited until they were at point-blank range. He then struck them with a fragmentation grenade and followed up instantly with small arms fire. This clip highlights the extreme risk of infantry operations in areas with zero cover. It also shows the composure of these Ukrainian frontline defenders who are repeatedly stopping Russian reconnaissance teams before they can gain any part of the ground. And it's showing the sophistication of Ukrainian command and control, because this drone footage was clearly used to help give the situational awareness to the lone Ukrainian soldier, allowing him to defeat 2 and scare away 1 of the Russian attackers. Let's look at a...
All right, so I'm trying to find this friggin' clip in the background, but I seem to be kind of striking out. I don't know why I should be striking out on this, but let me see if I can find it real quick. I'm just going to throw this on the screen. You guys can go over it with me. This is just some of the destruction that we've seen. Obviously, this is from earlier on. This is from the 14th, but I'm just kind of scrolling, seeing if we can find that specific strike that I was looking for. Kind of looks similar to that, but it wasn't. It was filmed by a Russian that was driving by and just happened to capture the moment that the drone hit the truck. Let me see. I don't know why it wouldn't be kind of more prominently featured here. Let me see. Latest, maybe if I go to the latest. Come on. Where are you? Where'd it go? Oh, here we go. Latest. Was it this one? Nope. That's from that one. No, it wasn't from that one. Nope. These are all from the bridge strikes. Let's see, truck hit. I'll just do truck hit by Ukraine. Maybe that'll do it by Ukraine. And then we'll get you guys out here after this one. Like I said, I'm just trying to find the, was it this video here? No, I don't think it was. I don't think it was. Let's see. If I can't find it in a couple seconds, then we'll just get you guys out of here. Was it this one? Nope. Man, I really thought it was going to be easy to find, to tell you the truth. I didn't think it would be that difficult. It was a pretty prominent clip where I said, like I said, the truck gets struck, and then you can see right after it gets struck, looks to be, I don't know if it was the truck driver himself or just kind of somebody hiding in between the truck, runs across the street right after that. But anybody have that clip in the old Chatsky? Anybody have that clip in the old Chatsky? Looks similar to this, but wasn't that one. Well, all right. Let me see if I can go back here. And then let's see if I can find one of these videos. Because like I said, I knew it was one of these videos that I was looking at. We'll go to Dennis. Or maybe it was this one. Because I know NFKRZ had a video as well that I wanted to take a look at. But I don't know if he took a look at that situation or not. Sorry, I'm just kind of flying through some of these videos to see if it was this clip that I was looking at or the other one. I'm going to find it. No, it wasn't this one either. All right. Let's go back. I'm going to show you before I get the hell out of here. Make sure you hit that like button, guys. Appreciate you guys sticking with me. I believe it was the Dennis Davidov video. Let me see. Wasn't that one? Sorry, let's go to his channel. I'm going to go to his channel. I might as well throw this on the screen so you guys can at least share along with what I'm doing. Was it this one? I think it may have been this one.
My friends, we have some of the interesting news, right?
I'm going to scroll ahead. For crying out loud. Oh, yeah, here it is right here. Thank Christ. Here's the video that I'm talking about right here. I'll throw this on the screen, make it a little bit bigger, and we'll get out of here with this. Again, just kind of detailing and showing you exactly what this looks like when it's captured on video. So check this one out.
The Russian supplies in the same area. This is the road R280, southern part of Ukraine. So this is the Ukrainian drone. Yeah, it looks like a Hornet drone, and it kaboomed one of the Russian vehicle near the main... Oh, where this guy went from? I think he was between the vehicle and the trailer itself. So Russians filmed that. It means that
But you can see that truck was already struck, right? So if you look at the front of that vehicle, right? If you look, obviously, in this portion, you can see the front of that vehicle is already damaged. It's already been struck from the front, it looks like, which is typically what you'll see in the videos. It's typically driving into the front of the truck to try to disable it, hit the engine, hit the driver, so to speak. And then the secondary drones or anyone that are kind of loitering in the area then go after the supply, whatever it's carrying in the back, and trying to obviously destroy anything that they may be trying to carry from the front. But, this is another one of those prominent videos coming out. I'll play it in the background without the sound there so you guys can see it again. Of that Hornet drone, what looks to be a Hornet drone, as he stated, flying right into these into this Russian vehicle. You can see it in the background there. Kaboom, as Dennis would say. But yeah, there's a ton of these videos that we could pull up. A lot of these detailing, even at the end of Preston Stewart's video. Let me see, because even at the end of Preston Stewart's video, he details a few more of these different shortages in the lines that they're seeing here. Let me see if I can go back to where I was looking at that one. Yeah, it was this one right here. So if we put this back on your screen and then you go to the end of his video here, you can see him detailing some of these videos of the fuel shortages and what people are going through here.
Reach the consumer, or it arrives with serious delays and in smaller quantities. That one, talk about how this is going to have an effect on the front. All right. There's not like some secret passageway to get fuel into the occupied territories or into Crimea.
You can see what people are going through, obviously, in different territories of Russia, to be able to get around the fuel shortages, to be able to not be caught up or, out without gas or petrol, as they call it there, in these fuel shortages that they're now facing. But unfortunately, we have run out of time today. I really do appreciate you guys for joining me. I appreciate you guys, every single one of you that takes the time out of your day to send in 4 quarters into the Venmo, 4 quarters into the Super Chat, whatever it may be, just to help this channel out a little bit. Again, $1 or $2 is all we ask for. Nothing really substantial, anything that's going to break the bank. If you can't do that, please do the free stuff, like, share, and subscribe. Doesn't cost you a dime. Again, if you utilize Twitch to watch this program and you have Amazon Prime, you can utilize that to subscribe to the channel. Doesn't cost you a dime over there. Much appreciated to everybody that's watching on Twitch. Thank you to everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, people that watch on Substack. Thank you guys so much for supporting this channel, supporting the content, taking a look and going out and sharing out my, the Instagram videos and the YouTube shorts. All of those things really, really helps the channel. And let's see if we can thank some people over here on the Venmo side of things that sent in $1 or $2 to support this channel today. Much appreciated. First and foremost today to Bry Guy. Let's go. Bry H, as usual. Slava Ukraine. Fuck Fox. Fuck Trump. Fuck Putin. Another propaganda shit show. Shitbox. Not an independent information source. Let's go. Agree with everything that you just said there, Bry Guy. Very much appreciated for everything you do for this channel. Thank you so much to Allison. Thank you so much to Yakov and Roger over the last couple days. Very much appreciated. Like I said, you can go back at any point in time after this show posts. Doesn't always have to be during the live stream, but if you want to and you feel like you have $1 that you want to throw in to contribute to the chat, or contribute to the community, that Venmo will be up in the corner. You can always take a picture of that with your phone. Doesn't have to be right this second. So much appreciated for everybody that utilizes that. And then I'm hoping I got the opportunity to star as many of the things that I was able to see go by in the chat. Like I said, I'm kind of left to my own devices to try to do that now. I don't know why StreamYard decided to stop doing that, but let's see if we can go over some of the fabulous people over here on the YouTube side of things that were contributing to the channel today. Johanna, thank you so much. Is it Johanna or Johanna? I always make sure I want to get that right. So my apologies right off the bat if I'm mispronouncing it, but I do very much appreciate you for becoming a new YouTube member. Always great to see new people in the chat. Always great to see new people contributing to the community and joining the community as well. So Johanna, thank you so much for everything that you do. Very much appreciated. Same thing goes for Jeff over there. For becoming a member for 14 months. Let's fucking go. Proud member of the Crustacean Nation. Let's go. Very much appreciated, Jeff. Thank you to Rachel as well. Glad my fair Commonwealth stayed out of the DC mess. Much appreciated for being a member for 1 month. I feel like you've been a member for long yet. I'm going to give you at least 11. I'm going to give you at least 11, Rach. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your contributions. Thank you to Bald Thanos as well. Good to see you here. Very good to see you here. Look at the Nazi eagle and the White House eagle, right? That's what I don't know if you joined late or you were referencing what we were covering, but we did absolutely cover Donald Trump's post there on Truth Social, posting his little eagle that he posted here. Show this on the screen in case anybody joined us late. But obviously, we're talking about the similarities between that and the Partei Adler, which was specifically used by the Nazi Party, different from the Reichsadler, which was used by the German state. Again, it is a lot more representative of the Partei Adler than it is the Great American Seal that we've been looking at, where the wing structure is different. Obviously, the talons have very specific things for a specific reasons being clutched into its grasp. And then the 11 stars not really making any sense. Obviously, the head of the eagle facing the way that it's facing. Basically, we're just showing you the historical similarities, and then not just that, but obviously the rhetoric and the policies that they espouse here. Kind of writes itself, as it were. So thank you, Bald Thanos, for bringing that up. Very much appreciated, my friend. Thank you to Bry Guy. Again, here for contributing over on YouTube. I worked at Fox before Murdoch took over, and it was a fine place after the takeover. That place went to crap. Did you really, Bry? Really? What were you doing over there? Shit, maybe you got some insight. maybe get some insight into, some of the criminalities that were going on behind the scenes. Or again, that was probably after Murdoch took over. But, it's crazy. I didn't know that. I did not know that, Bri. So cool to see, cool to hear, or funny to hear, at least strange to hear, I should say, ironic to hear that you worked at Fox News before Murdoch took over. So not only appreciate you for divulging that piece of information, but obviously the $5 contribution as well. Very much appreciated. Thank you to Rachel again. I was a guinea pig at Meta in 2024. In the moment I saw Zuckerberg publicly fillet Trump, my workplace productivity went to zero. I was disgusted. Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you whatsoever. I'm sure a lot of people had the same and similar kind of reaction to that as well. So thank you so much, Rachel, for that contribution as well. Thank you to Rachel again. There was once a man from Nantucket. Exactly. And it sure as fuck wasn't Portnoy. I can assure you that. And then thank you today to William for the $2 super sticker as well. I should probably kind of fly through the chat just to make sure there wasn't anybody else that contributed late. I hate the thought that I might miss somebody that was contributing to the show. Thank you, Christina. Off to do a raid. See you later. Much appreciated, Christina. Hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Buttercup. Thank you to Karen. Thank you to Regina. Much appreciate you guys. Thank you, Olga. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Rox. Thank you, all of you guys. Like I said, I'm just going to do a quick scroll just to make sure I didn't miss anybody, right off the bat, because like I said, I don't really like missing people that were contributing to the show during the show. But again, if I miss your super chat or anything like that, I see one here. Thank you to John McDonough, 4307 for becoming a new YouTube member, my friend. Very much appreciate that. Thank you so much for watching the channel, not just watching the channel, but for participating in the channel. Really means a lot, my friend. And again, sorry I missed that. I'm kind of, like I said, left to my own devices to try to filter out these comments, which is difficult to do as you're trying to do the show. But hopefully I got the majority of them, if not all of them. If not, Tiff, let me know any that I may have missed, or let me know in the chat if it was your super chat that I missed. That way I can be sure to thank you at least next show. You know what I mean? Because like I said, it's very important that you guys contribute to the show, and it's very important to me that I thank you for your contributions to the show. So again, sorry if I missed anybody, but I'm going to let you guys go. I will see you guys tomorrow for a doubleheader. We got a doubleheader, so if you liked and enjoyed one Blunt Politics show during the day, you're going to really love Wednesdays. So we got two of them during the day. It's going to be a 1-hour episode. So we're on tomorrow at 1 p.m. here on the East Coast. That's 10 a.m. on the West Coast, depending on where you live, somewhere in between there. And then tomorrow night, we also have a 2-hour show, regular show, basically, tomorrow night at 8:30. A little bit of a laid-back rendition of the Blunt Politics podcast, where we're just, again, going over some of the ongoing craziness, shit that we want to call out, things that we see necessary to talk about. And again, we're just trying to be the little political podcast that could here, sifting through the bullshit of the mainstream media, the propaganda of Fox News, Donald Trump, OAN, RSBN, again, the wider and more general mainstream media and the water they carry for this administration. And it's only with your help that we're going to be able to crack the 25,000 subscriber mark. We're very close. So please share the show out, share all the shorts out, share the videos, continue to talk about this program in other chats. Again, don't overpower the chats, but, kind of interject Blunt Politics in there wherever you can. It would be greatly appreciated. And I will see you guys tomorrow, like I said, for the 2 shows. Be good, be loud, stay proud, stay aggressive, but get the hell out of your seats, please. We're just not pissed off enough in this country. And again, salute to the mods, salute to the chat. Thank you guys for everything that you do. And I'll see you tomorrow for the doubleheader. Very much appreciated. Make sure you're taking care of yourselves. I love you. I appreciate you. Much respect. And I'll see you tomorrow. I don't think I can put the previous chat on there, Rach, but I can put this one up there. Hey, Vix, what's going on? How are you? Good to see you. Great to see you. Great to see you. Thank you, Yakov. Thank you, Pop. Thank you, Bethany. Much appreciated, guys. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Cats and Jim. Oh, Alvin, what's up, my brother? You have a great day. Appreciate it. Forever Young, People Julie, Rock, Carol, Buttercup, Honeycat, James, let's fucking the whole thing, kid. Rock Dragon, how are you? Bob Brumo. Love skinny guys. I'll see you tomorrow, guys. Appreciate it.
Вітаю, Бостон Брайан. Мій позивний танцор. Я представник 72-ї бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
Thank you, Gamma. Thank you, Gamma. Appreciate you guys.